Tonight's the night. It was the only intro, really. Me and Madison are here. Hey, TV fans. Hey, Dexter fans. Hey, serial killer fans, or whatever. let's go the whole hog here. we know our audience. But tonight we're here to do a deep dive into the original Dexter series. So this is fitting because it originally started in 2006. So it's actually 20 years old this year, which is crazy. We're going to do an overview of the characters, some of the storylines, what appeals about the show. Madison is a super fan, like she's a mega fan. I think it's fair to say this is one of your favorite shows.
Definitely. Yeah,
okay.
Like it's up there with Breaking Bad and what else? The Boys and Stranger Things, all of that. So yeah.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah. Whereas, I mean, I have fond memories of it because a lot of nostalgia for when it was first airing. And I know this is something we've talked about before, but it's kind of in that time frame where like we were starting to get all these really prestige big hitters on TV and really exciting shows that were a bit more edgy, doing something a little bit different with characters and stories. And this is a similar time to Mad Men, for example. I am a fan of Dexter generally, especially the early seasons. I'm not a mega fan like Madison. It's not one of my favorite shows. I do have other shows that I like quite a bit, and I do have quite a few problems with it over the course of its 8-season run. Even the early seasons, which we'll switch back around to, because I do like the early seasons, but there are issues with those early seasons, a couple main issues, but we'll talk about that as I get to it. We encourage you guys to let us know what you think. I think you've said from the original show, the only season you don't like is 6.
Yes. I definitely agree with you that even the early seasons have a couple things I'd probably tweak or change just from a storytelling perspective to kind of get rid of like lucky coincidences and things like that. But overall, when I was rewatching it, I loved every season except 6. And it might have just been a pacing issue, but by 6, I was like, oh, I'm ready to give up. Like the whole like surprise twist with 6, it's like, if you know it's coming, it's like you're just waiting and waiting for it to get there. And it feels more disorganized than some of the other seasons, but it picks up again at the very end. So, I mean, even season 6 has its moments, but yeah, overall, I felt like that was the weakest part of the series.
Okay, fair enough. I mean, not going to argue too much, but I disagree. I'm not of the last few seasons. It's just different degrees really for me. I do find those last few seasons a real slog. In the early seasons, season 3, I'm not particularly that keen on, but obviously early on it was a very strong show doing a lot of exciting things. A good question to kick things off is, what first attracted you about this show, and what are some of your early memories of watching Dexter?
So I think I got a late start. I don't think I started watching it until the last season was airing, or maybe even a little bit after that. And I had read the first book in the series. I think it's Dearly Devoted Dexter or Darkly Dreaming Dexter, one of those. And I liked it, and I'd seen the promos for the show and just the premise of a serial killer hunting other serial killers. Like, I think that's so great. And then I watched the first episode and I immediately stopped because I was like, I have to watch this with my mom. She's going to be so mad if I watch this show, knowing that it's her kind of show. So we binged most of it together, although I do think at one point I had to stop because I was in school and I was trying to focus on school, and she watched part of it without me, and I was like, I can't believe you. This is such an epic betrayal. But she did not like the last season, and she was like, I wouldn't even finish it. So I actually didn't for quite a long time, and then I finally got caught up, and I was like, like most people, I was a little disappointed. But then when I rewatched it last year, I think it was last year,
I remember
to prepare for Resurrection, I liked it a lot more. So it grew on me. Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. That happens sometimes. And I think for me, so I did watch it from the start. I was I was surprised actually to see it was as far back as 2006 because I'm pretty sure the UK didn't get it in 2006. I think we might have got it a year later or something because it was showing on FX over here or whatever channel it was, and one of the reasons I watched it was because I was a big fan of 6 Feet Under, which of course was Michael C. Hall's big show before this one. And he's excellent in that. I love that show. And I just wanted to see his next big role, really see what it was all about. And the premise seemed quite interesting, quite unique. I think it's quite a nice little twist on the whole like Hannibal Lecter type thing where they're actually making the Hannibal Lecter character a bit more sympathetic and a bit more of an anti-hero and one you can kind of root for a bit more. That, you know, it's that kind of thing. He has a whole code. You've got the backstory of Harry, and Harry is his dark passenger, which we will talk about for sure, but that's a big part of the show. So the way it sets things up, and I think Michael C. Hall is obviously such a charismatic actor, and he can be very likable as well. Like there's times in the show, especially early seasons, where it's quite hard to like dislike him, even though you question certain things that he's doing. And but the things that the show sets up and the gimmick of the show, there's a lot of potential there and a lot you can kind of do with it. And I think Michael C. Hall, they obviously just nailed the casting. It's funny because when you watch him in 6 Feet Under, even though it's a very different character, I think some of the moments where David's rage comes out unexpectedly, you can see a little bit of Dexter in those moments. It's that thing of, in a way, even though they're very different characters, they also have similarity because they're both suppressing stuff. They're both suppressing emotions or hiding things, you know, like David and his sexuality. So even though very different characters, I could actually see some parallels. And yeah, I mean, that's a big reason, along with just how exciting the premise was. And I remember seeing a review of it on TV right before the show came out, and I thought, okay, give that a go. Could be fun, could be interesting. So yeah, I was hooked pretty quickly, really, and got into it pretty much straight away. So let's talk about some of the characters. First of all, some of the main ones. I mean, we can come back to the dreaded Quinn later on because he obviously gets added after season 2. But it's fair to say we both like Dexter Morgan, the main character. Otherwise, we wouldn't be watching the show. But as I said, great performance. As things go on, his character suffers because of the way the writing becomes repetitive. Like they do repeat too many things. Like they do 2 or 3 different versions of he befriends someone or he gets close romantically to someone who he has that in common with, and he sees something in them, but can he trust them? What happens if they betray it? There's 2 or 3 versions of that storyline throughout the show that they go back to. Also, they go to the well too many times of, is he about to get caught? Like the authorities are closing in and he sort of slips out, he weasels out at the last minute. Like it becomes a bit like it's just spinning its wheels after a while. And in the later seasons, that stuff gets really convoluted. I actually, in season 5, which is probably one of my favorite seasons, but in season 5, I actually counted 3 times in that one season, and they sort of do that. I forget what the second time was. The first time is when him and Lumen are in the warehouse, and it's when she's got that guy who she's accusing of abusing her, and they end up killing him, and Deb and the others are like closing in. So that's one time. And then obviously in the finale, you've got that thing with
Yeah.
Deb in the warehouse when they're on the other side of the curtain and they're like the vigilante killers, but she doesn't actually know who they are. And she lets them go. And there's another time, I forget what it was, but even though I like season 5, that's an example of that storyline stuff being done a bit too much. But yeah, obviously we're both big Dexter Morgan fans. But what about other characters? What are some of your favourite characters, or maybe least favourite characters?
Batista. I love his character. Yeah, one of them. I didn't like him that much the first season because he's portrayed as like the stereotypical alcoholic, cheats on his wife. And then when the wife wants a divorce, he's very childish and like, how can she want a divorce? All I did was cheat on her. I was like, but he gets so much better. He has some of the best development in the series. Of course, Dexter has great development, although he does backtrack a bit. Kind of like, House and some other really famous characters where it's like they have all this growth and then the next season it kind of restarts a little bit sometimes. And Dexter will be like, I didn't know that I could feel this way about another person. I'm like, how many times have you said that? First it was Rita, then it was Lumen, then it's Hannah. Like, every time he falls in love, it's like, oh, this has never happened before. And then with Harrison, too. And there's a couple times where it's like he just now realizes he loves his son. It's like, you've already said this in another season. Why is this shocking to you? But I do overall like, that he's such a different character from the first season where he's, I don't think I can love anyone. Deb's the closest I've ever come to loving anybody. And then, I would say around season 4 is when we see some very dramatic change with his son and with Rita. And of course that really tragic ending to season 4. And then I think season 5, which is highly underrated.
I agree.
Oh yeah. When I was rewatching it, I was like, I love season 4 and 5, but I actually think 4 is a little overhyped and 5 is very, very underrated. Because, just because I think that John Lithgow's character is really fascinating. And he's definitely a scene stealer and everything, but everybody acts like 4 is just like the peak of television and everything after that was so terrible. And I think that Dexter actually has a lot of growth in season 5 with Lumen and feeling like he's not a monster and moving on from Rita, and also accepting at the very beginning of season 5 that he did love her and having this realization, which they kind of take back in later seasons. But like in that season alone, if you just look at that season, he's a very different character from the beginning of season 5 to the end of it. Because I think Lumen was the first time he was accepted for who he was by someone that wasn't a psycho. Like, I think her name was Layla in season 2. The British chick that,
we're going to get to
Layla, who was, oh man, I don't know how I feel about her as a villain, because I feel like she's such a realistic villain, but crazy, borderline obsessive, evil psycho killer.
2's a solid season. Like, it's a solid follow-up season. It's not as good as 1, but it's still very solid. But yeah, I do think watching it back, she is the weak link. Like, I just don't think she needs to be in the season in a way. Like, I don't think if you took her out of the season, it would achieve that much. And the more I rewatch it, I just find her really grating and annoying. And I don't really buy. It doesn't help that Rita is played by Julia. What's her name? Julia Benz. Really, Dexter's gonna give up Rita for this?
Yeah.
No disrespect. Obviously, Layla's very attractive as well, but it doesn't help that Julie Benz is so stunning and a bit more of the safe option without doubt. Yeah. But I just thought with Layla, it was the stereotypical kind of gothy, mouthy bad girl. It just felt like too much of a stereotype, her doing the weird paintings and I just think you could have. I've got a fit. I don't know. There's no way to prove this, but I think one of the main reasons she's in that season is so that she could be the one to kill Dokes. So that's not really on Dexter then, because obviously Dexter is wrestling with killing him. You know, he's weighing up his options. So push come to shove, he possibly would have killed him, but obviously it never got that far, and she's the one who did the deed. So I think that's probably, like you said, in a way, she does become the villain of the season. And, you know, in a way, I think maybe that's why they included her in that season.
Yeah. I mean, she's the villain of the season, but I think Lundy, I think that's his name. I really should have brushed up on everybody's names. I think that
Frank Lundy.
Frank. Yeah, I think that he is the main antagonist because he's on to Dexter. Like, it's some very lucky coincidences that he doesn't catch Dexter. And I don't know if you've seen the conspiracy videos that Lundy knew who Dexter was, and because he's so smart and he knows everything or whatever, he let Dexter get away with it because he approved of what he was doing. I don't believe that. I don't believe that was the creator's intention, but I love that as like one of those crazy theories.
What? So that he knew, but he didn't pursue it because he needed evidence first, No,
the crazy conspiracy theory is that he knew and he let Dokes take the fall because he approved of what Dexter was doing. And then somebody else said maybe it's not that. Maybe it's just he didn't have evidence and he didn't want to mess things up with Dexter's sister. So I was like, yeah, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that, but I do like the idea, even though it's really crazy. Those videos are very entertaining.
Yeah, it's always No, it's always fun to speculate with that, but no, I'm with you because I just don't think that's Lundy's character. I think first and foremost, if he thinks Dexter's the killer, he's going to pursue that and try and bring him down. So
I don't think so either. But I still think it's a fun theory. And I think he's the main antagonist of season 2. Even though he's a good guy, he's a great character. That's for the more minor characters, I think he's probably my favorite because he's so smart and he's just such an altruistic person, but he's also got his flaws too. He's kind of like Deb, and he's very kind of struggles with intimacy, I think. Which is why his marriages didn't work out and why he kind of became a workaholic and things like that. But he's also so dedicated and intelligent. And he's just like, the actor is just such a presence in every scene. So he's a very good antagonist that really makes you think Dexter could get caught at any moment. So, he's adorable.
Yeah, he's a very good character, very well played by the actor. He's obviously one of those great character actors. I know him also from Deadwood and a bunch of other things, but he's a very good actor. And I have to say, because I'm not really, one of the things I'm not a fan of is a lot of Deb's romance things, like the melodrama and everything, love triangles, all the rest of it. And, I just find that stuff really tedious. But I will say, out of all her romantic interests on the show, he is my favourite. I really like that kind of, teacher, mentor type role that he takes on, like the older man. And it's sort of like she's old enough where it doesn't feel like it doesn't really feel creepy at all, but they have quite a tender relationship. And I love him trying to teach her like more cultured things, like classical music, food, all the rest of it. So that is my favorite of the many relationships they stick Deb with. So that's because I think they have good chemistry. And when they start doing the love triangle a bit with him, Deb and Anton, I'm a bit checking out of that, but the actual relationship I do quite like, and it's intriguing. And and clearly she cares deeply for him because of her reaction when he gets killed in season 4. And I mean, one of the things I love is just the fact we get him and John Lithgow for one scene in the same place. And we'll talk more about season 4 later, but I just love he just bumps into him, and you can tell Lundy is a little bit, okay, what's this guy about? Like he has sort of suspicions, but it's just this incidental like bumping into each other, and that's a nice little breadcrumb because of the mystery later on when Lundy is killed. So for one of my hot take, can't stand Deborah.
I don't think that's a hot take.
Is it not? Is that quite common?
There's a lot of people that don't like her. There's some seasons where I'm rooting for her and I like her, and some seasons where I'm like, oh my god, I wish this annoying bitch would die. Sorry.
And eventually she did, but it took 8 seasons. So.
Yes, and it sucks because sorry, go ahead.
No, it's all right. I was just making a crack because she's got plot armor because she's Dexter's sister, and they were dating at one point as well. So when she does finally die, I actually liked her again because at that point she's kind of accepted Dexter. She's moving on with Quinn. She's not being immature and selfish. Like she's finally got her head on straight. I think that's the great irony, is that it's like, they finally made me care about her again, and then they killed her. But I mean, I'm glad they did, because if they killed her when she was being obnoxious, then I would have been like, whatever. But although I did hate the fact that her death relied on her and Dexter being dumb, because I was like, why wouldn't they just kill him before Dexter leaves? Why would he even give that guy an opportunity to overpower Deb? I don't know. I hated that whole part of it. I was like, I wish that there was a more realistic way that doesn't make them look dumb. She could have been injured, and they still could have done the same storyline. Because this might be a hot take, I actually like Dexter driving off into the storm with Deb, and him dropping her body, and that being the last body he ever, and then driving off into the storm. And if he died, I actually don't think the ending would have been that bad. Although I do really like Resurrection, and I really like Resurrection. I think that's one of my favorites. I know we're not talking about that right now, but I really enjoyed that as much as the early seasons. And and I think New Blood wasn't as bad as people say it was. They brought back that energy from the early seasons with Deb, the ghost, being all quirky and stuff, and the scene where she's shouting at Dexter and stuff. So I enjoyed her as the ghost. But I actually don't think that final scene was terrible. For me, it was the reveal that Dexter was still alive and was living as a lumberjack. I was like, what the fuck is that? Well, since you brought it up anyway, we might as well talk a bit about that stuff. It's that image of him as a lumberjack is a little bit stupid, and also I think, I tell you what it reminds me of. Have you ever seen The Dark Knight Rises?
It's been a very long time.
Yeah, but they obviously do that thing when they make it look like Batman's dead, and then they give you one last scene where they reveal he's alive and he's having dinner with Selena, Catwoman, and it's kind of like, you just could have left it ambiguous. Like it's the end of the trilogy anyway. I mean, I think we know at this point that there's going to be more Batman because it's such a popular franchise and character, but it's a little bit like that, where they could have just left it ambiguous, and they didn't. They chose to show him kind of, because either way they're in the clear. Like, they're not saying he's 100% dead. I think you would maybe assume that maybe he is, because it's the last episode and it cuts to black and you don't see him again. But it's almost like he'd gotten very good at swimming by his time and washing up on new lands and faking his own death. So he's like, it's a calculated risk, but I'm confident somehow I'll survive for a revival in another 10, 15 years. So, but well, we can get to that, but I'm definitely on the haters bandwagon when it comes to the finale. I thought it was pretty bad. I mean, the final season as a whole, I thought was a real slog and tedious to get through. So it's not just the finale. One thing about Hannah when she comes back in season 8, the last season, is I find it really unbelievable that suddenly she's done a full 360 and she
Yeah.
suddenly wants to become family person and play house with Dexter and start a
Yeah.
new life. Like, it's just too rushed and too
Hmm.
unbelievable than the same character we saw in season 7 suddenly wants to do this just like that.
Yeah. Yeah, when I was rewatching it, I was struck by that too. I think the first time I watched it, I just went along with it because there's so many other things going on. I didn't think about it too much. But I remember thinking when I was rewatching it, I'm like, Hannah would have been such a great last season villain instead of
Mm.
introducing a new villain and all this backstory. Although the one thing I like about season 8 is I do like the fact that it brings back Harry in terms of how he tried to get Dexter help before, and how he got to that point of why he was teaching him the code, and Dexter finding out that there was actually a therapist he went to, and the therapist kind of
Okay.
helped him come to that conclusion instead of it just being something he came up with on his own. Like, because I think that makes sense. I think it shows Harry's not quite as awful as we thought, because he actually did try to get Dexter help. He didn't just immediately go, all right, I'll just let him be a serial killer.
Wow.
But I don't necessarily know if I like the way they executed it. And like I said, I like the idea of they'd already introduced Hannah. They'd kind of built her up as being, a big bad at the very end of season 7. And then she escapes, so she's this looming threat. And then, yeah, when she comes back into season 8, it's like now she's Dexter's love interest, and she's all domesticated and sweet and just wants to be friends with Deb. And I'm just like, yeah, they kind of dropped the ball with, they could have had a great opportunity to make Hannah a really good villain that season and a really serious threat. And I don't know. I
Yeah.
don't know that I necessarily agree with the direction they went with her in the last season.
No, because again, they're really good this show in casting because Yvonne Serrazzi is such a good actress. And in a way, I think this is around the time maybe she was starting to show she could do a little bit more than just kind of, the hot kind of sexy spy type girl she was in Chuck. And obviously, I've watched The Handmaid's Tale, and she's amazing in that. Such a good actress, but and I think she does elevate Hannah. Like, I think overall the writing of the character isn't the best. I think it's her performance and what she brings to it that makes it a bit more, brings a bit more life to the character. But yeah, it's a weird one. Because I think initially the character was rushed, like the romance with Dexter was rushed. Because I think we should circle back round to season 7. But just to sum up, one of the things I think about it is things in it, but the things I like in it, they kind of rush. So Hannah, for example, as I said, the romance, I didn't quite buy that Dexter wouldn't just kill her. Like, I didn't believe he was in that sort of place where he'd be, oh, okay. 1 minute I wanted to kill her, now I want to fuck her. Let's get it on.
Okay, so I do like that scene, but I agree with you that it doesn't feel earned. I think they were trying to be shocking by having that happen. And I do like the conflicting feelings Dexter experiences. But yeah, I agree. I think that they should have built that up a little bit more before I could believe that Dexter was so conflicted about killing her. But that wasn't the first time I was just like, oh my God, why is he not killing someone like the Trinity killer? There's so many times in that season. That was the most frustrating part about rewatching it. I was like, just let him die. Why?
Yeah.
Why did you save him? Why did you go out of your way to save him? But
I think.
No, but it is interesting, the people that he struggles to kill. I think that there's like a part of himself that he sees in Hannah and Trinity Killer, and that has a lot to do with it. But yeah, I agree. I think a little bit more build up between them, because it does kind of just seem like, okay, he's attracted to her, and that's a big part of why he's letting her live. And it's a shame that it's not more like based on emotions.
Seven's a frustrating season. Now, I do have a way I would rewrite it, which I'll tell you about later on. But it's frustrating because I feel like some of the best things in it they rush For example, the Greta, like I think her thing should have been a much bigger part of that season. It just feels a little bit rushed at the end, where for a few episodes they start to take it seriously. Whereas some of the more tedious stuff that I don't really care about, the awful Russian plot, for example. So
I don't think anyone likes that plot. That was just, I don't even remember it. Like, I think I blank out on that every single time. Every time I watch it, I'm just, time to space out.
Because the guy who they get to play, and actually the actor isn't too bad, it's just the whole plot, I think, is just really tedious to sit through. You've got Quinn getting his end away again with another, dodgy sort of the nightclub girl. But that character, like the main villain, he's trying to be kind of like a Charles Dance type villain, sort of quite suave and well spoken, but quite icy. But he just doesn't have the oomph that Charles Dance has, or like it's like and the whole plot is very contrived, very convoluted, and then you have weird things like the that bald-headed psycho who for some reason Dexter takes 4 episodes to kill off, even though he should have been like in 2 episodes at the most and then moved on. I mean, that doesn't, because you get this weird scene where I think it's when he gets arrested and it's all dark and he's got this heavy metal thing playing and all these strobe lights and he's trying to kill this girl and they arrest him, but for some reason they can't hold him because they don't have enough evidence, even though they pretty much caught him trying to. I don't know how that works. So I guess they're just saying it's so dark and all this crazy shit was going on, then they couldn't 100% nail him down. But that's just another example. Then you've got the stuff with Lewis, which again, fuck off Lewis, because that should have been, Lewis should have been like a 2-episode character at most. We didn't need him dragged out throughout the end of season 6 into 7. So it's sort of a frustrating season in that sense, where a lot of the good stuff they rush and a lot of the tedious stuff they drag out, I guess just because they have to cover the whole season and pad it out and like build up to the. Because one thing, and this is just because occasionally on my notes I've got like in big letters where I've done like a sort of a rant, but I noticed, I think it's in season 6, because they start to do that stuff with Mazuka when he's like hiring interns, and at first he gets that sort of sexy girl, but it turns out she's selling stuff on eBay or something, and then he gets Lewis, and one of my comments later is that Jamie, Batista's sister, has the worst taste in men, because of course she goes from the deadbeat that is Lewis to Quinn in the final season, but we'll get there. And I do like Jamie. I think she's very likable. She's sort of like, because I was thinking rewatching this, I think, oh god, they're doing the Quinn Deb thing again, and it's like, no, Jamie's a lovely girl, and she's normal, and she's sweet, she's pretty. You're lucky to have a Quinn. Just go with Jamie. Stop fucking about with Deborah. I noticed in an episode in season 6, because it's when Lewis is being trained up, they go to a crime scene, and at one point they've got Dexter, Lewis, and fucking Mazuka at the same crime scene. It's like you need 3 blood splatter analysts at one crime scene. There's too many characters in this scene. Come on.
Well, I think Lewis was still learning, so that makes sense. But yeah, there's a couple times where I'm like, why are Mazuka and Dexter still? Yeah, I don't know.
There's sometimes when someone will pop up, and I'm like, who the fuck is this character? Because, like, that the African American cop who they get in, it's either season 6 or season 7. It might be 7 because I don't know actually. I'm assuming. Well, Angel replaces the Greta, obviously, because he's originally gonna sail off happily into retirement and start up his own, and they dropped that awful quick because his ex-wife died and there was a role going. So it's, but I can't remember. It's either 6 or 7. There's this short-lived character who I think again is just meant to be filling in because they lost someone. I basically like the start of it, and I quite like the end of it. But then there's a lot of shit to sit through in the middle, unfortunately. Because the first episode back, I quite like.
Because I think catches him in the church and all the fallout, where she slowly realizes, oh, he didn't just kill this one person. He's the Bay Harbor Butcher. Yeah, I think that first episode's great. That's the payoff of 6 seasons of when is he going to get caught? When is Deb going to find out? So that's such a satisfying episode, or maybe couple episodes, where we're finally getting Deb's reaction and that betrayal and just all of that payoff. Which I'm trying to think. We don't quite get as much with any other character, I think, but that makes sense because Deb's a sister and that's a very close bond. So yeah, I think season 7 starts super strong, and then like you said, it does get kind of tedious with the gangster storyline and the LaGuardia thing. I think it starts pretty early, but then I feel like they drop it in the middle of the season because of Hannah and all the other stuff, and then they bring it back at the last minute. So I think it should have been more consistent. Even if it wasn't LaGuardia suspecting Dexter the whole time, even if it had just, because at first she's like, oh, there's another killer out there. She doesn't connect it to Dexter. But I think that they should have kept that up in every single episode of her investigation, because that is one of the strongest parts of season 7.
I agree. Because I think, Negreta's a character I quite like. I think she's quite important character because of representation. And I do quite like that she's quite savvy, even though, they obviously make her quite a big villain at times, an antagonist. And so the writing of her, I find it a bit frustrating. I think there's times where she's made to look too much like a douche at the expense of Deborah. And again, I think that is kind of like Deborah has a certain amount of plot armor because she is like Dexter's sister and all the rest of it. So the writing is a bit up and down. This is one of my general complaints, but obviously it can apply to really most of the characters. But I think one of my things, I think it's the way the supporting characters all have subplots, and they'll just like give them their own plot, and it'll be all drawn out, and it's just really tedious. I'm not as in. It's a bit like Dokes. Like, we both like Dokes. He's a very entertaining character. The actor's got a lot of charisma. He's a good antagonist. He's a great character. It's a shame he didn't last longer, but he's a great character. He's every time he's just chewing Dexter out, calling him a fucking freak. I love the thing in the car when he's like giving him the eyes.
Yes,
that's so good. And
it's a great meme too.
Yeah, exactly. And there's 2 of the most iconic quotes of the whole show. Of course, one is "Surprise, motherfucker," which they even brought back as an episode title later on in season 7. And my other one, which is even better, when he says, "Your life's a bigger fucking mystery than Jimmy Hoffa's." He says that to Dexter when he's like getting close in season 2. It's like, if you go back to like season 1, the stuff with him having the affair with the cop's wife, and then he shoots someone in the line of duty. That's either season 1 or 2, one of the 2, and Batista has to cover for him. And then what the fuck was that shit with the clown masks? I thought, what the fuck am I watching here? And that it's that whole storyline, because like they trick him, like it's like they raid a house or something and they're wearing clown masks, and that's when they reveal that, okay, we know it's you who was sleep. Because one of my notes was, if that was in a later season, that scene, I would have thought, well, this is a jump the shark moment. But of course, it's still great after that. You know, season one's one of the best seasons, and there's still a lot of good stuff to come. So it's not a jump the shark moment, but the clown mask thing did feel like a jump the shark moment. I thought, what am I watching here? But Greta and some of her stuff, you know, some of it's okay. You know, I do quite like them. She's quite savvy and ruthless. The stuff with Deborah, I do find a bit frustrating at times, and I do think, because one of my things when I was talking about Deborah is, I remember one of the early episodes, Deborah's like celebrating the fact that the Greta got something wrong and called it wrong and is like made to us. And I'm thinking, well, okay, people are dying here, Deborah, and you're celebrating brownie points because you got something right over the Greta, I think.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, like sometimes the characters, it's another one of my notes somewhere, but they act like children, like teenagers, because it's like the stuff with Greta and Batista when they get married and the whole thing with that. And you got fucking Quinn and Deb and Masuka all gossiping. It's like, you're grown men in a police station. Like, Deb's at least in her 20s. Masuka's probably in his 40s, or at least at like Quinn's probably 30, pushing 40. So I mean, get a grip, people. But yeah, that's generally a complaint I have, even in the early seasons. You know, as much as I enjoy Dokes, I enjoy him more as that antagonist, that sort of like, you know, honing in on Dexter, making his life uncomfortable. And, you know, I don't really care about his personal life and about his, you know, I think it's one of these things where some shows can do that, but like, I don't think this is a show which has like Mad Men level of depth to the characters. I think Dexter at its best works because it's like a pulpy, like dark procedural show in a way. So yeah, a lot of the side drama I sort of switch my brain off. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's some storylines where I feel like I really enjoyed. Like we said, Deb and Lundy was really great. I loved seeing their mentorship develop, and you know, I like all of the drama with Rita and her ex-husband and how that gets resolved. And I know that throughout the show, there's other like side character subplots that were interesting. Especially the ones that eventually end up tying back to Dexter. But I agree, there is some filler in there. And yeah, like the Doke sleeping with the cop's wife and all that. Like they could have left that out. They're giving Dokes just a different backstory, because that just didn't feel super interesting. Yeah, you're right. There is some fluff even in the earlier seasons. It's just, I think because everything else is so good that people just forget that, even the early seasons had a little bit of that as well.
Revolves around Dexter and obviously whoever the villain for the season is and the main story, and then they revolve around that. And like the Lundy stuff was fine because that's at least connected to, you know, the case and what have you, and it's got a bit more relevant. And as I said, I did quite like the dynamic between Deb and Lundy, and I quite like the dynamic between Greta and Dokes. You know, I think they have an interesting sort of history and backstory, and I mean that could obviously some of it is pre the start of the show, but you know that could have been an interesting thing to explore. And I really like her loyalty to Dokes. You know, proactive Greta like that, I think, is when she's sort of at her best, and where there is a bit of morality of, you know, she sees the big picture. And but anyway, circling back to 7, because I did have a suggestion of how I would rewrite that season. Now, bearing in mind, because it could have been potentially the last season at this point, I would have written it, because I think after a while, although I like the start of the season with Dexter and Deb, I think it does get lost in other things, and and it sort of starts spinning its wheels a little bit.
Yeah, and the Deb being in love with Dexter, I could
I
have
was
done
about
without that. Yeah, oh my gosh.
that was terrible.
It doesn't add anything to the story, and it's weird, and there's a part of me that's like, was it because they dated in real life?
In real life, maybe.
Because they have to bring that into the show. Like, I hated that. It didn't even seem to go anywhere either, so...
Well, yeah, I think that's what I was going to say, because they make a bit... And the thing is, if they set it up in earlier seasons, then maybe fine, but they don't. It just comes out of the blue. It's like... Because, there are scenarios in real life where that sort of has happened. None of this has been set up. It's almost like they're just for whatever, because they need to go in a different direction, and maybe they think it makes it a bit more tense when she finds out who Dexter is. And I thought those therapy scenes were so tedious to sit through, and just the way they were dragging it out, because I think at some point that seems to be the direction they're going in, that she is going to confess that, oh my God, I love my brother. So I think that makes it even worse than you just waiting for them, come on, get it over with, because I know you're going to say it at some point.
Yeah.
And you're right, and then they don't even, when it comes up again in season 7, it's quickly brushed under the thing anyway. They don't really make that much of it.
Was it season 6 where that came up? The I'm in love with Dexter?
Well, I mean, after she confesses to him, I think that's season 7, isn't it? Because obviously it's quite near the end of the season.
It's such a cringy confession too, because whenever we were watching in the DVD, and whenever they kind of do the recap at the beginning of every episode, they kept playing a clip of her saying, I'm fucking in love with you, Dexter. And every time my mom and I were like, oh.
Yeah.
Every single time, to the point where I was like, fast forward the recap. I can't stand to hear it one more time. So awful.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably my least favorite part of the entire show. Not just that subplot, but that exact confession scene is so awful.
That is fair. Yeah, I think that's up there. Yeah, if I was ranking some of the worst things on the show, that would be right up there. It might be the worst. Yeah, they just didn't need to go there, because they already had a perfectly interesting dynamic as it was, and there's still things to do with it once she finds out who Dexter is, but. No, it just didn't add anything, like you said. Rewritten it is, I would have had, after a certain point where Dexter's or Deb's wrestling whether she's going to turn Dexter in. Because another thing I like about that first episode is then he doesn't tell her the whole truth straight away. I do like that, because that is very Dexter. And I'm sort of wondering, well, is he doing it to protect her or more to protect himself? And maybe it's a little bit of both, but there's some interesting dilemmas with that stuff, and it is quite well done. Like the way she reacts to it, I think feels very natural and very Deb. That feels like the way she would react to that sort of thing. But yeah, what I would have done to rewrite it, and this way you cut out all the Russian bollocks and things like that, is I would have had basically Dexter go on the run or in to hide in somewhere. And I would have had the Greta and Deb eventually work together. Like one of the two, I mean, probably Deb, but one of the two, like she would come and, slowly confess the whole thing, because the Greta's obviously starting to dig stuff up anyway on Dexter and starting to get like closer to the truth. And, Deb's overcome with emotion, doesn't know what to do. So the Greta... And that way, because they've had a frosty history, you can have a little bit of them going over some home truths and coming to a common understanding. And you could have had like, okay, we'll do it this way, Deb. We'll bring him together, and then that will be the season. It will be them trying to get to Dexter. And again, bearing in mind it could have been the final season, I think you have them bringing him at the end, and That's how I would have rewritten it. I mean, you still could have worked Hannah in a little bit here and there, but
Yeah, I still like Deb's eventual betrayal, though. I think it could have worked even if they decided to go with something else for season 8, and just change season 7 to have them working together. I think that would have been interesting.
Well, here's the thing. Speaking of like the end of season 7, that big final thing. And by the way, one of the things with that, because we'll talk about New Blood when we get there, but I've seen people who really shit on New Blood, and they're talking about how they don't believe Dexter would do what he does at the end, and but one of the things I point to is this season 7, the end of season 7, because okay, in the end he doesn't kill her, Deb does the deed, but he was going to. I mean, he was basically luring her in and was going to kill her, and as Harry says in the episode, the Greta doesn't fit the code. She nowhere near fits the code. So I think for people who kind of criticize New Blood for that, they have to remember that it doesn't happen that often. Obviously, by and large, he sticks within the code. But occasionally, if push comes to shove and he thinks he's going to get caught and it's him or them, Dexter will do that, you know.
Yeah. And he... Sorry, I just meant the first rule is don't get caught. It's, nothing to do with who you target. The first rule is don't get caught. People forget that. Yeah, because they did do such a good job of making Dexter a likable character and giving him a conscience, even though he says he doesn't have one. But, regardless of whether he develops it later or if it was always there, but it was buried behind all of the trauma and all of Harry's teachings and things like that. He does have a soul and a conscience, and because he's not like he's just completely remorseless. He didn't want to kill LaGuerta, and he didn't, want to kill the guy in New Blood either. But yeah, he was totally willing to do it. So yeah, I agree that argument that it was completely out of character for Dexter. I'm like, y'all are remembering a different version of this character. An angelic version.
Dokes he was wrestling with, whether to kill him, and in the end, at the end of the day, he wasn't going to let him go. So one way or the other. But yeah, I don't know. It's interesting you say he's remorseful. I don't know. I think that's debatable, because that's the whole thing with Dexter is because when you see him in the early seasons with Rita, that's the whole thing. Partly is then. He's not confident with women. He's not confident with socializing, and he's not in tune with his. It's a bit like obviously after Rita has been killed, and he has to deal with her kids and has to break, which I think is a really good scene. I really like that scene when they come back from Disneyland, and it's devastating, but also him with the Mickey Mouse hat on. It's a great scene, but. Yeah, I think that's part of his whole thing early on, that he is kind of not, I don't know how to say it, he's a bit alien to like human ways, human connection in a way. And I mean, a lot of that to do with the dark stuff from his past, definitely. But yeah, I don't know. It's debatable if he did have remorse after killing the Greta. I mean, I guess he regretted it, but he certainly...
he never actually did it either, though. So he was going to, but Deb ended up doing it. Thing. So
yeah, and I mean, I'm not necessarily complaining about that. I guess that's why you set up this thing with the code and that, because then you can challenge that as you go on. You can play with it. Stuff like that, I think, does make Dexter a little bit more unsympathetic than he was, because at the end of the day, the Greta doesn't fit the code. She doesn't deserve to die. And if she catches him, well, maybe he should just take his medicine. And I mean, I know then you don't have a dramatic scene, but I'm just saying it's kind of like, if push comes to shove, maybe you should just accept your fate. But he was going to, and in some ways it is his fault that she does die, because he sets the whole thing up. And I do think with that scene, because like we said, the Greta stuff it's good, but they could have done a bit more with it, and it feels a bit rushed. And like that scene was okay, but I also thought it was a little bit contrived. Like I didn't really believe that the Greta would be egging Deb on to kill Dexter. The Greta all day long would be all about, well, let's bring this guy to justice.
Yeah.
And I think they just did it in the scene to make her a little bit of an antagonist, and it's pushing the buttons a little bit. But, you know, I didn't really buy that from the Greta. I think, like I said, all day long she would be, well, let's bring him to justice.
Yeah.
So
that's a good point.
It was a little bit contrived, that stuff. So, but that is a good way to sum up season 7. I think a lot of the good stuff is good, but it could have been a little bit better. It could a little bit rushed, and then they drag out some other stuff, like it's like running through treacle, trying to get through some of that stuff. I remember you saying you're not the biggest fan of Rita. Do you want to expand on that?
Some seasons I am, and some I'm not. I really loved her in season 1. Season 2, for the most part, she's very sympathetic, especially trying to support Dexter's addiction. Although there was once or twice where I felt like she said he's just as bad as Paul, and I was like, Paul raped you. Like that's I didn't like that at all. Like I don't like comparing someone who has an addiction to someone that's abusive and violent and a rapist. So I think I was mad at her for an episode after she did that. I was like, oh my God, girl, don't even. But like I came around, I liked her through most of season 2, and season 3 is when she just got on my nerves. She was always nagging and always complaining, and Dexter never did anything right. And I was just so aggravated by her character. I think it was just the nagging stuff. And then in season 4, I mostly liked her again. I didn't really care for that subplot with the neighbor where she like kisses him or doesn't push him away, and they're having all these relationship problems and stuff. But overall, I mostly liked her in season 4, which was good because otherwise it wouldn't have been as gutting if she's annoying and awful, you know. But yeah, at some point in season 3, I don't know. I was like, I do not get the hype for this character. She's just, all she does is nag, and she's just so negative. And I don't know what Dexter sees in her. I know she's a part of the mask too. She has a practical purpose, but I'm like, oh God, I would have found somebody else. I can't take her. Especially a big part of the reason they were together at first was because she didn't want to have sex. And it's just like, well, you're already having sex with her, so just go find someone else. She's getting on my nerves. I totally don't see how he could put up with that. But
well, yeah, but hang on, that's not really true though, because I mean, okay, it's a little bit on her because she's vulnerable, but he's not confident in that arena neither. I mean, that's why believe it or not, he struggles to get excited around Julie Benz. I mean, again, go figure. I mean, I would
there's something wrong with him, right?
Yeah, I would swap places with him, man. But
this is true. So I was just gonna say, like, overall, I really liked Rita as a character and was devastated when she died. But yeah, there's definitely moments where she just grates on my nerves, like really bad. And some of the stuff too, I think when her and Dexter were breaking up in season 2, some of the guilt trippy stuff she did with the kids, I don't remember.
Yeah,
I didn't like that either.
True.
So there were
some
moments in season 2 also where I didn't care for her, but she definitely grew on me.
I quite like her. Again, it helps that the actress is really good. I think she starts off in a very sympathetic place because of the stuff with her and Paul, and you can understand some of her stuff. And obviously it is quite an interesting thing in the early seasons, like Dexter trying to balance his family life with his secret life and his job and all the rest of it. And yeah, I mean, definitely some of the stuff with Rita. I think that's just at the point, and it's particularly in season 3 where they're just damping it up because it's the double whammy, really, because they get engaged that season and get married, I think, at the end of the season. And then she announces she's pregnant, so that just damps up everything, like all the drama. And then you've got all the stuff with Miguel and his wife, and that's playing into it. So it's just amping up all and that is a season that I was getting frustrated with some of that stuff, because it's like when they're planning like Dexter's bachelor party at work, it's like, no, we don't have to do all that. We don't have to do every little step. Just assume he had a bachelor party, and we can get to the.
And that's one thing. That's one thing I don't like about season 4, even though overall amazing season, is that we don't see Harrison be born. I was like, you're going to show us the bachelor party to their wedding and all these little stuff, but you're not going to show us the birth of his son. Like, that's just one scene that I was forever mad that they just had Harrison already be born. I was like, and that also could have been great, because I think that season 4 opens with the season where she needs him to go get medicine for Harrison or something, and he ends up like crashing his car and he doesn't know where the body went, so he's got to play Where Did I Hide the Body? That could have been really good, because it could have been like after Harrison was born, or like when she was in labor, and it would have upped the stakes, and we would have gotten to see this, super important scene in his life. So that was kind of a disappointment. Like, because Breaking Bad did such a good job with Skylar going into labor, I think, when something was happening. And the drug cartel business was happening, and that was just such a good juxtaposition of like the personal life having a crisis and the crime or the criminal life having a crisis. And that would have been such a good thing to do in Dexter as well, especially because of Dexter's emotional stuntedness being such a huge part of the show. We could have also got to see, like, does he feel anything when Harrison's born? I think so, based on the way that they develop this character later in their relationship. Like, he's got to feel something, even if it's just terror, like, I'm going to be a bad dad, which is a huge part of some of the later seasons. That's one thing that I wish they had shown. But I agree, there's other stuff. It's like, we don't need to see the bachelor party. Although I did love the kidnapping bait and switch, where you think he's being kidnapped by Miguel or one of Miguel's people, and then it's his friends.
That was
pretty funny.
Jimmy Smith's an amazing actor, because for fans of The West Wing, they all know he became the president in the final season. So we've got 2 of the best presidents ever on that show, and sadly they're both fictional. What a shame. but Jimmy Smith's a great actor, but sadly wasted in that tedious season 3 storyline. He's given it his all, but it's just a slog of a storyline.
It is, and I didn't hate the idea of Dexter teaming up with someone and then them parting ways, because they end up being a foil. Because he ends up being a foil to Dexter, and that he's too extreme, and he wants to punish all kinds of people, even ones that aren't that bad. And I love the idea of it. I didn't particularly care for the execution at times. I don't think it's a terrible season overall. I think it just drags a little too much. Okay. But I just remember thinking, as I was watching it, I was like, this would have been so much better if it had been him and Dokes. Because I kind of thought in season 2 that that's what was going to happen whenever they team up temporarily to get rid of the drug dealers. I was like, see, Dokes, you and Dexter could be a great team. And because Dokes seems like, even though he's a lot of times by the book, he seems like he could be persuaded, to go after someone every now and then that escapes justice, because he does have a sense of morality, and that, I could see him really harping on the ones that got away, just like Harry and everything. So there's a part of me that felt like maybe Dokes could have done what Deb did eventually, except instead of I'm going to watch you and I'm not going to let you kill anyone, being like, you're only going to kill who I say you can kill. And that could have created a partnership, like similar to the storyline with
It could have been interesting, because I mean, they had a lot of good scenes together in the seasons he was in, and the stuff in that cabin was really good between the 2 of them.
I think that's that's one of my favorite parts of the whole show, is the scenes between Dokes and Dexter in the cabin, where Dokes finally has confirmation. And Dexter shows him, like, I'm going to show you the monster and all that stuff. And I don't know, like, part of me is like, maybe it was good because it was the link that it was and it left us wanting more, but it definitely left me wanting more. That's probably a big part of why season 3 just feels like so slow in comparison, because I'm kind of missing Dokes and that interaction and that dynamic. And I don't know. I do sometimes wonder if season 3 would have been a lot better if it had been him and Dokes teaming up and then parting ways in a similar fashion.
Yeah, it could have worked. Interesting idea, because I think that is basically why they killed Dokes, because he was constantly an antagonist, so they had they couldn't really continue the show, otherwise at some point it would have come to a head and something would have had to have happened. But yeah, you're right, that could have been maybe an interesting way, at least to get another season out of Dokes at the very least. Instead we have to suffer 6 whole fucking seasons of Quinn. I'm sure that's the writers playing practical jokes on us, because it's, I don't know, maybe he's married to one of their, I don't know, sisters or something. I don't know, but that was
I mean, Quinn has a couple moments that are interesting, but yeah, overall he is kind of plain. Even the storyline they gave him, which should have been really interesting, where he was taking money and Dexter saw and he's trying to bribe Dexter, and Dexter can't really be bribed, but he also just doesn't care that much. That could have been so interesting. And I don't know if it was the actor or the writing, but it just seems like it gets dropped and they kind of have a little bit of a antagonistic relationship after that, but it never goes anywhere. And like, I don't know, maybe Quinn's underacting also just kind of made it forgettable, but I'm like, that could have been so intense, and it just wasn't.
Yeah, he's a cardboard cutout, really. He's a little bit of a Dokes standing, because like you said, they do some of the similar storylines they were doing with Dokes early on. I don't care about the stuff with him and Deb. They have zero chemistry. Like, they both just come off more obnoxious because of their interactions with each other. He's probably not terrible. Like, he hadn't quite got to the point where he was grating on me in season 3, because he's a new character and they show a couple of times how he's actually quite a smart cop. But that's the thing, as it goes along, one of my things with him is that he's such a shit cop, and he just gets in hot water so many times, and it's like, you should have fired this guy so many times. I mean, at one point the Greta puts him on suspension, but that's about it, like, for a few, because it's like, I think it's season 6, isn't it, when Deb is made captain? Yeah, it is, because the whole thing, he sleeps with intellectual professor who really Quinn wouldn't have a shot with in a million years, but for storyline reasons he has a shot, and that compromises the whole thing. And yeah, Deb finds out. She should have fired him right there on the spot. She chews him out. He claims, you're just jealous, Deb. It's like, no, she's the captain. She's got legitimate reason to be pissed with you. That internal affairs. I mean, that doesn't really go anywhere. You know, I think they should. At one point, Deb's like, because Suki, isn't it, the character's name? Like something like that. I think Suki. She's like, oh, you were boning him and he ended it, so you just feel better, or you feel bitter. I'm like, really, Deb? Aren't you concerned about this stuff? Shouldn't you be taking it a bit more seriously? But just stuff like that, I think they could have leaned a bit more into, okay, Quinn's a bit of a shady cop. He's got some dodgy things. I think the writing with him is very inconsistent. I think one minute we're meant to think, okay, he's kind of this sort of bad boy womanizer, and then the next he's meant to suddenly have feelings and a bit more depth, and it kind of switches on a dime almost. So very, very inconsistent, the writing of the character. 5 is probably his best season, just because Peter Weller, RoboCop himself, makes Quinn look better because he's so funny in that season, Peter. Wow, him doing the sleazy Southern stuff.
Mm-hmm.
He says police. And he just, even though he's slimy in an entertaining way. He's like, when he finds out Quinn and Debo, it's like, you're boning is like her brother, like, or your suspect sister. Mm-hmm. And just the way he says it, even though it's a really sleazy line, just the delivery is so funny. So yeah, Peter Well with his amazing colourful shirts and that crazy accent, and just how sleazy he is and charismatic, makes Quinn a little bit more bearable.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, anybody would be more bearable in comparison to that character. So yeah, I totally forgot about that character. He was fun.
Yeah, he's great. No, Peter was great. Yeah, he's very good. Season 1 is obviously such a good first season. It's such a great calling card. It lays out perfectly what the character's going to be and the setup for the show, and it has one of the best, like main arcs and villains and mysteries, and with the ice truck killer, and it's sort of funny Dexter having orgasmic reactions because of it's like he's fanboying because there's no blood. This is unique. Yeah. This is like my answer to porn. I love it.
Yeah, me too. The first season is still probably my favorite. It has the least amount of annoying things. Like almost every season's got something that's aggravating. I think very highly of season 2 and 5 as well. And of course the Trinity season. But yeah, I do think 1 is just so hard to beat because it's just paced perfectly. We're still learning about this character, and every episode feels like there's some big surprise, and there's also almost always a new person he's targeting in each episode, so there's never this feeling of okay, this is dragging on a little bit too long. I kind of want him to catch whoever the big bad is of the season, because even though the ice truck killer is sort of the big bad, it's still a mystery of who this is. So we're more caught up in Dexter and learning about him and sort of the villain of the week, I guess, as opposed to just being focused on this one person. And yeah, I think just trying to think about some of the earlier victims in season 1, I think my favorite was probably the therapist that Dexter goes to, and how he actually gets some of the therapy and implements it in his personal life, but then he still kills the therapist. That's one of my favorite episodes. It's so good, and I love the confession that he does where he tells him I'm a serial killer and all of that. It's such a good, surprising moment, because you just, like I said, you just don't know that much about Dexter yet, and it's so shocking that he actually confesses and actually, tells him everything before he kills him. And yeah. And then I also loved the therapist's MO as well, getting people to kill themselves. That's also kind of fascinating in itself. See Dexter actually getting like therapy that he uses in his relationship with Rita to like improve, their relationship. And I think that's around the time Dexter started having sex with Rita, which was a major diversion from the book. Yeah, and I also just loved the therapist's MO, that he was like tricking women into killing themselves or like manipulating them into doing it. And I think that, that's interesting in itself because that's not something I've ever seen before in any show. So like the killers were just really interesting in season 1, like, cause there's multiple seasons where Dexter's killing someone every episode or every other episode. But I just feel like the ones in season 1 really stand out as being interesting. And the therapist was one of my favorites. So.
Yeah. And I think with a show like this, it's quite good early on just to have a lot of ones like that where you're just establishing the sort of MO that Dexter has and just making it a little bit case of the week while you're doing like a slow burn, bigger mystery of the season. It's, it's sort of the balance that a show like Buffy had quite well in its run, really, where, you get lots of good individual Monster of the Week episodes, but at the same time, they're like building the overall big bad and arc of the season. Yeah, so there are some good ones, I agree, early on, and they do sometimes do quite a good job of keeping you guessing a bit of, like, is Dexter mistaken? Is he jumping to this a bit too soon because he wants to see them but yeah, and ultimately I think you figure it's probably going to be that he's right, typically, because it's, his show and that's the sort of deal. But there's somewhere they do put some element of doubt of, has he got this wrong? Because I can't remember what season, I think it might be season 5, but the one with the female cop who killed her family, it was hard to tell for a while. Like, she was pretty convincing whether she was actually guilty or not, and they did the whole thing with the open house, which was good, and the back and forth, and the fact that she was obviously very capable and very physical and quite tough. It meant that Dexter had to be quite sophisticated, really, about how he went after her. So, like, that was one where they kept you guessing quite well. And of course, there's that episode in one of the later seasons, I think it might be 5 again, it's either 5 or 6, I think, where he does kill the wrong person, doesn't he? And it's something to do with, aren't they, like, identical twins or something? Or maybe it's just that the guy really looks like him. The guy who he thinks has done the killing is like this really douchey kind of like photographer, and he's got like this studio, and like these girls have been dying, and
yeah, you're right.
He kills the photographer assuming that he's guilty, but then it turns out he's not.
He did it once at the beginning of season 3.
Okay.
Yeah, where he killed Miguel's
True. Yeah.
Brother or cousin. I think it was cousin.
Yeah, that storyline got really confusing, but yeah.
Yeah.
Was that? Yeah, I can't remember the details, but I know you had all the stuff, because that was the whole thing with Tegan, wasn't it? I think.
Yeah.
I know what you mean. I got the gist of what was happening with that stuff, but that's true. He did do that one time.
Yeah, and I think that he kind of doubted himself a little bit more that season because of it, but they did kind of gloss over it, I think, because they were trying to get his rivalry and his relationship with Miguel established.
Sure.
Yeah, that was a big part of season 3. I would have changed. I would have loved if that had been a much bigger storyline, and less focused on Miguel in every single episode. And and I also didn't like the pacing of season 3, because it's slow. And then, like, they build up Miguel as being this big bad. He's got that big speech on the rooftop about, you can't take me down and all this other stuff. And then he dies in, like, the next episode. Like, that would have been better if it had been a little bit earlier in the season.
Yeah, because that's when he's setting Dexter up, isn't he?
I think so, yeah.
I think he's got the Skinner up on the other roof.
Yeah.
Because that's another thing, like, that's just another sort of kind of plot hole in that season, is the fact that they don't treat that tree trimmer guy, the one who turns out to be the killer, they don't treat him as like a suspect, even though he trimmed trees, which in theory is, part of the MO, and they already have him, like, they interview him once because he's like a witness. And I'm not saying, like, totally, like, okay, this guy did it. Like, you can't jump to that, but at least treat him as suspicious because of, like, he was around the area, and he does this for a living, so it makes sense he could probably be skinned.
if
I think that's a bit
perhaps,
sloppy that they didn't
yeah.
at least bring him in.
Well, if the department was good at their jobs, Dexter wouldn't have a role. So
Well, that is true. I mean,
yeah, but
yeah,
yeah,
it's
I agree. There was some sloppy police work that season too. So
yeah.
it's like every other season, they're a very competent police force, and then the off seasons, they suck.
Yeah. Yeah, I also enjoy. I mean, we're jumping about just because we're mentioning different one-offs, but the stuff as well at the start of season 5 with the Sean Hotsey character, that nutty pest control guy,
Mm-hmm.
who listens to like the inspirational, and he's constantly going around going take it a lot. And I agree, the therapist one is a good one because again I really like that. He always plays sort of sleazy yuppie types, but he's very good at it. He's very convincing.
Mm-hmm.
um, and he's very like you believe him as a therapist, and you can kind of see okay the techniques he's using this to try and talk Dexter around and try and manipulate him like he does his other patients. And yeah,
Mm-hmm.
no, it's very well played. I quite like. I think it's that same season, the one with the immigrants in like the kind of trailer, and you've got like this really nasty couple who are like just.
Yeah, yeah, I remember.
It's the one where at the end of the next episode, Dexter thinks he's been caught because like the kid's an eyewitness, and
Yeah,
he's,
that's right.
he's
He
yeah, and
draws
it's
Jesus.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
very good, very good.
Yeah.
But that's actually like another good Legretta episode because of the way
Mm-hmm.
she gets quite attached to the kid, and you
Yeah.
know is quite gentle with him and quite subtle. And yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I quite like that stuff. Get to the villain that season with it being Brian and the whole family link. I think that's quite a nicely played twist where even if you saw it coming, it's not too in your face. Like they play it quite naturally, like he just meets Deb quite organically, and there's a
Mm-hmm.
bit of flirtation, and like it's not so obvious and in your face like some. It's it's in the background a little bit, and you slowly. So even if you guessed it, it's not too bad. Like it's not
Yeah.
okay. This was so bloody obvious, and they're kind of amping it up a little too much. It was
Mm-hmm.
just quite a natural like way to work it in. The later seasons, some of the stuff with like the family and the backstory, like I get a bit fed up with, and it gets a bit. They go to it a little too much, but I think early on, like that twist, and then the twist, and he was Dexter's brother, or are they half brothers or brothers? Half brothers, I guess
I
technically.
think they're half brothers.
Adopted brother, like. The other thing, not that this matters, but they were playing it like Brian was the oldest.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I would have said Michael C. Hall looks a bit older than that. Because in the past they show you them, and like you
Mm-hmm.
can definitely tell he's meant to be older. But I don't know if it's just because he has quite a youthful sort of look to him.
Possibly. Yeah. Or
Yeah.
you could just say, all those years of trying not to get caught. Brian just kills and moves on. So he doesn't stress out about it as much. But Dexter's got this whole facade he's got to keep up, and he's got a full-time job in addition to murdering on the side. It's stressful. So it aged him a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, that's good. Like the whole way. Again, a bit like season 4, it has a really satisfying pacing, ramps up
Mm-hmm.
very nicely, and the stakes are just so well raised in those last few episodes. And
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, and at the beginning, like every clue that gets dropped by the ice truck killer is just it hooks you in, just like Dexter,
Mm-hmm.
Like what does this mean? What does the doll with the different painted fingernails mean, and all of that? It's very cool.
Yeah. Yeah, so season 1's very good. You said it's your favourite season.
pretty much. I mean, there's different things that I like about all the seasons, but that's probably fair to say it's my favorite. Well, that and Resurrection, in some ways, I really like that one a lot too. But yeah, the first one probably would be
cool.
all-time favorite.
It's original. I mean, there's always going to be, there's always something to that especially when a show comes out that blocks as strongly as this does, because not every show does. Some shows there's teething problems and it takes a bit of like getting going, but this one pretty much from the off. So yeah, no, I can understand why you would rate this one as the best. But to tease something, because you mentioned it there about this and Resurrection, is when we do our later video about the revivals, I am going to rank all the seasons in order, including the revival seasons. So I'll see what you think of my order and how much you agree. I think typically we are in alignment with a lot of this stuff. We talked a little bit about season 2. It's a solid follow-up. Obviously, we have issues a bit with Layla. The Doak stuff, like we said, is really good. The stuff in the cabin, I love him trying to talk to Dexter on his level, like trying to turn him around, and just the tension and the back and forth. And I think just because you care about Dokes as well, and so you're a little bit worried about, okay, I don't necessarily want Dexter to get caught, but I don't necessarily want Dokes to die neither. And it's just really good, like him in that cage sweating a lot, like in the heat, and all the twists and turns, like when those drug guys at one point shows up. It's quite funny when the guy doesn't understand and Doke's like, "You suck my dick." It's pretty funny. So yeah, all that stuff, and again that actor's face, like his face when he realizes Lila's come along, because at first he's like, "Lippy, I'm gonna be saved," and then his face when he realized, "Oh no, she's in love with Dexter, she's gonna kill me," like just his reaction.
I think what happened is there was disagreement in the writers' room, with some people wanting to kill Dokes and some people wanting to keep him alive, and I think that's why they ended up with Miguel in season 3, because I think that was the compromise. We'll have Dexter team up with someone next season, but I definitely would have preferred Dokes. And yeah, if I have any complaint about season 2 other than Lila just being kind of annoying, it's how that wraps up. On the one hand, if Dexter had killed Dokes, I don't think that the show would have been as popular, and I think that people would have lost a lot of sympathy for Dexter. It would have been like if Walter White had, gone full Heisenberg in season 2. It would have been way too much, way too soon.
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of like that scene where he was going to kill Jane, and then they changed it to he just doesn't save her. Like it's one of those defining moments where if the character goes too bad too fast, you're going to lose the audience. So
that's the Christian Ritter character, isn't it, Jane?
Jane, yeah. So that was such a good call to change it. So I think that was Bryan Cranston's idea, where he said, "I don't think he's going to kill Jane," and they talked about different things that could have happened.
Okay, interesting.
So yeah, I think it's the same thing. I don't see any world where Dexter kills Dokes and people still cheer him on. Not in cold blood and not like that. So even LaGuardia, it was like he was cornered, I mean, not that makes it okay, but I'm just saying, like, and again, if Dexter had actually gone through with killing LaGuardia in that way, I think that would have the major outcry.
I think that is probably why they had Lila there to kill Dokes. So it's like, because again, you can make her a villain. It's so funny, like, even though she is, because there isn't really a clear villain in season 2. But yeah, I guess if anyone's a villain, it probably is her. True.
So,
which maybe is another reason why it's lacking, because obviously, well, not lacking, like we said, it's a solid season. I think she is the main kind of complaint I have, but I think a lot of the best seasons have really great villains for Dexter to go up against, and yeah, I think at times she's a bit more of an antagonist, and like she's a bit more of a just kind of a pain in the ass, and she's kind of like, yeah, she's annoying and all that, and she is dangerous, but you know, she teeters on being like an outright villain. But I suppose by the end, because of what she does to Dokes, then that tips her right over, really.
Yeah, and she tried to kill the kids, Astrid and Cody. So that definitely puts her into, that's almost twirling mustache villain when you want to hurt children just to get back at someone. So there's a few things I don't like about how it played out, but I do like the scene where he follows Lila and kills her in like one of the very last scenes of season 2. That's just such a great moment. So it does wrap up pretty well. Huh?
Yeah, it's in London or somewhere.
Yeah, he follows her, and that's pretty satisfying. So yeah, my only complaint with season 2 is just I think they could have used Dokes for one more season. I just love his character so much.
Yeah, he's so good, yeah.
When we talked about favorite characters, I should have mentioned him. He's just an absolutely wonderful antagonist, and he has some of the funniest lines, and his reactions when he sees how gruesome Dexter can be are just like some of the best in the series. So that's really my only big complaints with 2. I really enjoy it, and I don't mind that there's not like a clear villain up until like the very end with Lila, because I feel like there's 3 antagonists. There's Lila, there's Dokes, and there's Lundy. So Dexter's got a lot going on.
Yeah.
So I don't mind it so much, at least not in this season.
Yeah, I think you're right. There's a lot of juggling of things, and but yeah, no, Dokes is a great character. So I even enjoyed, in season 7 when they go back to that stuff. I think that's a good little calling back, and things starting to twig a bit with Ligretta, and she always believed him deep down, and just the fact you get like a flashback of like past with Dexter and Dokes in season. I appreciated that because it was fun seeing Dokes again a little bit, and I mean, you're always talking nowadays about characters getting their own spin-off. Like I would be down for a Dokes spin-off without doubt.
Yeah,
he's a great character. Slight nitpick with me, because she takes it to Lundy, and Lundy kind of shoots her down because she's, and it's a good scene. I like the way the actor reacts in the scene, like lady, he calls her. He's like, yeah, you. The sad thing is, you might be right, but you're compromised, and I've got a little bit of an issue with that, because I think the stuff Ligretta has digged up, like there's enough there to at least pursue it. And my way of thinking is Lundy doesn't necessarily have to give her credit like publicly. He can pursue it and see where it leads. And I thought that was a little out of character for Lundy, like a little bit of, I think she's got enough here where you can pursue it and see where it leads. And I think, he's all about cracking the case and getting the right guy.
This is where the Lundy conspiracy theories come in.
Okay.
About how he knew what was happening the whole time, and he was covering for Dexter because, that was the brother of the girl he liked, and also because he approved of the vigilante killer, and
I'm fueling it then. So if any of those guys are watching, you can cut out this clip and use it.
But I agree with what you're saying. In real life, I think they would still pursue it. They would just immediately cut her off the case and maybe reprimand her too. But like they would continue to pursue it. And maybe they should have done that. Maybe they should have had it just pursued it and it just didn't go anywhere. But so that's a little bit of a kind of lazy writer way of saying, conflict of interest, and she didn't go through the proper channels, so Dexter got away with it. Yeah, I agree. I think that they should have just had Lundy pursue it, or maybe he was going to pursue it, but then something happens and, you know, he doesn't get to it or something, or Dexter's able to cover everything up in time, which happens quite often later in the show.
Mm-hmm.
But on the one hand, it's plausible enough, I guess.
Yeah,
to just kind of hand
absolutely.
wave it and be like, yeah, maybe he just didn't think that there was enough there, and he's like, we already made a case against Stokes. And to be fair, if they did pursue it and found evidence against Dexter, there would have been enough plausible deniability that it'd be hard to convict either one, because, you know, they've got two really good suspects. So maybe Lundy was thinking, although that doesn't seem to fit his character. He seems like he's more of a, I want the right guy no matter what. So that might be a problem.
That's what I was thinking. But you're right. Like it's plausible enough. Yeah. And maybe it's just he's thinking what a lot of people are thinking in the station, that, you know, the Greta can't see straight because of her ties to Dokes, and really covered season 3. It's not great overall. It has its moments, of course, like most seasons, but not great. So okay, so season 4, obviously, you know, up there with season 1 as maybe the best season of the whole show.
Yeah, and also, without a doubt, Trinity Killer's the best villain in any season. He just has such an interesting backstory, and of course John Lithgow plays him so well. I mean, John Lithgow is really what makes the character, I think. I don't think there's anything in the script that makes him the best villain of all time. I definitely think that he had enough material to work with, obviously, but it's just John Lithgow that makes the character so creepy and so chilling. He just does an amazing job. And, you know, Trinity is the most creepy, unsettling killer in the entire history of the show. Best villain by far.
I'll go, me and Rachel did our like top TV villains, and he was in my top 10 because I think he's incredible, and so many layers to the villain. And I think one of the things I thought about this, because it's a bit weird thinking of that compared with his sitcom Third Rock from the Sun and that role, but I think what it is, it's that thing that sometimes, because obviously he's had a big career anyway, he's done a lot of like dramatic roles and different kinds, so he's very versatile. But I think what it is, it's almost that idea of sometimes when you've had actors like Jim Carrey or like Robin Williams play against type, like play more creepy type characters in different kinds of films. And I think it's just that idea of you're taking their kind of wacky, offbeat personalities from their comedies, and you're just tweaking it to make it a little bit more creepy. So in a way, he's bringing that energy, but just what he's in and the way he's playing it, just tweaking it a little bit to go from being a bit eccentric and lovable maybe in a comedy to like being outright, you know, creepy and disturbing. And he plays it so well. Like, he was ideal casting, and there's a lot going on with that. The fact that Dexter can relate a little bit because Trinity's got a family, and that's one of the there's so many great endings to episodes this season, especially when it's ramping up, you know, that one where he follows him home and realizes, oh, he's got a family like me, and you know, that adds to the whole thing. And then he starts feeling sympathy for the family inside that character's psyche. The fact that, you know, he kills them in the bathtub, or like he convinces one of his victims to basically commit suicide. You know, it's like, okay, if you commit suicide, I won't kill your family, that kind of thing. And just the way he approaches it as this really creepy, like over possessive father, where I think in his mind he kind of is like, he cares for them, like in his sort of warped kind of mind. Another thing I noticed this time watching it, I forget which song it was, but it's because, was it his sister who died in the past, or someone he was close to died?
I think it was.
And I noticed, when he's playing that song on the record player, it mentions the name of his sister in the song. I noticed that because I think it's the song that he gets Dexter to play before he kills him. So I thought that was really clever.
Mm-hmm.
And the Thanksgiving episode is one of my favorite episodes of probably the whole show. And just getting into all that stuff, and once again it's like unpacking like the sort of creepy darkness underneath this seemingly perfect family and suburbia, and this kind of guy who seems like this very cuddly, relatable American guy, but there's just this darkness waiting to come out. And that's the thing, once you get more into his family stuff and just how unsettling that is, and the stuff with the son, like just at that family dinner, like it's one of the most uncomfortable dinner scenes I've seen, because like one wrong word or one wrong move and it could set him off, and it's really uncomfortable to watch.
Yeah, isn't that the scene where they were all had to go around saying something they were thankful for?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was unsettling. And then, isn't that also the scene where Dexter attacks Trinity, and then the family is like trying to protect him?
Yeah, because he goes after. Is it I can't remember if it's the son or the daughter, but one of them and he literally drags him in the kitchen, and like the beast comes out in Dexter, and
I should have killed you when I had the chance, and that was great. That was a great episode.
And another one of my favorite endings is when it's in the penultimate episode that season where he finds out who Dexter is, and he's in the police station, and hello Dexter Morgan, cut to black. That's one of my favorite cliffhangers as well.
Yeah, that's a great ending.
Yeah, like it just does a really good job of upping the stakes like that, and it really ramps up very nicely. And I just sort of love that there's a gut punch as well, because I mean, obviously you're figuring somehow Dexter's going to kill him eventually, but just the fact that there's that gut punch, and it's probably like the biggest gut punch of the whole show. Like it's just devastating. Comes back for something, doesn't she? Because like she's going away.
You think she's already gone.
Yeah,
she comes back for like the passport or something she forgot.
So it's sort of that twist of fate of like, that's kind of what life is sometimes. Like if you're in the wrong place at the wrong time, something like that could happen. So, and you've got that symmetry then, of course, of Dexter's past and sort of history repeating itself a little bit.
Yeah, I love that, how it parallels what he went through, and how they flash back and show the flashback along with what just happened. And that's really well done. That's another reason why I wish the season had started with Rita giving birth, because of the whole Born in Blood thing. Like they could have started the season with Harrison being born and then ended it with a shot of him being taken out. Missed opportunity, but in the grand scheme of things, it's a pretty perfect season. And then Deb is not very annoying this season. She's one of her most tolerable seasons, because she's with Lundy, and even whenever she's all emo and sad, it's like, well, she did lose Lundy, and she has a reason to be whiny and and self-centered and all that. And I'll say I think it brings out the best in her that she wants to catch Trinity to avenge Lundy. Like it's a personal motivation instead of, I just want to build my career, So I think that brings out the best of her character and makes her a lot more relatable and tolerable that season. So it's another good thing about season 4 is I actually don't mind Deb. So
well, that's true. No, I agree with that. I think when that happens, and you get quite a nice little mini mystery, as I said, with who killed Lundy, who injured Deb, and it turning out to be Christine, and like her whole link, and And yeah, they even make me feel a bit for her, you know, because when she's trying to reconnect with Trinity and he doesn't want anything to do with her because compromising his position. Yeah, I actually feel really sorry for her. I mean, it's hard not to, like, really having a father like that. And
yeah, a little bit. You don't like Quinn, clearly, but I felt bad for him in this season too. Like, everybody that I don't really care for, I seem to like a lot in this season. Like, everybody had something going on that made them more interesting. In Quinn's case, finding out that you're dating a psycho and everything.
Yeah, that stuff
it gave him something
fine.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. Yeah, I didn't say he was terrible all the time.
Yeah.
There's some stuff.
It's better than him dating the stripper and fighting the mafia and whatever else he's doing in the later seasons. He's a character I really liked this season. And then a little bit in season 5, but then as soon as him and Deb break up, it's like every subplot they give him is just, can we just move on to the next thing? Like, he just, Well,
because I think it's that thing of, like, and it's a little bit similar with Deb, is there's only so many times you can go to the well of you're naively going out with someone. So in this case, he's naively going out with this reporter, and at first it just seems like a bit of a fling, but then, you know, I think he does actually care for her a bit, and they start, and she obviously does for him, but, like, she doesn't really realize. I think she's just trying to have a normal life in a way, but then, you know, so that stuff was quite well played. Like, the twist with her, probably when I first saw it, I probably didn't see that coming. And
I know, I didn't.
I guess in a way it makes sense, and it's not Trinity, because it doesn't really feel like his MO, and it doesn't really feel he would have enough of a reason to do that and put himself in, like, maybe danger of getting caught. But I wouldn't have guessed that it was going to be her, and she would have, like, a link to him. So that was a solid little mystery in the middle part. Really great season finale, one of my favorite seasons. I mean, it's out of that and the first season finale, probably. I think they are the two really standout season finales. Season 5, I agree with you. I do think season 5 gets some unwanted hate. I think it's actually pretty solid overall, surprisingly good. You've got 3 really good guest stars, as I said. Peter Weller, obviously. You've got Lumen, played by Julia Stiles. I think she's very good in it, very sympathetic character. Her and Michael C. Hall have good chemistry. I think that's a good relationship. And I've only got one small complaint with their stuff, and I think it's just early on when he's questioning over whether she's telling the truth about being abused in the past sexually. I think that just plays a little bit bad, like, questioning, you know, people who speak a little bit in, like, a 2026 sort of lens. I think it just, especially when it's the man questioning it, I think it's...
Yeah, it didn't age great. But in the context of the show, at least, he's just thinking, like, is this person going to fit the code? Because Dexter's always questioning, you know.
Yeah, I understand. I get why it is. It's just the way it plays now, you know.
Yeah. Now they'd have to probably be a little more careful if they were going to do something like that. Because, it's not, post Me Too, it's not great to have male characters doubting accusations, so...
Yeah, because there's actually, in an episode of The X-Files, one of the early ones, they do, like, a storyline where there's, like, basically, like, it's the similar storyline to that film, The Entity, where the woman claims she's being raped, but she can't see him or see the attacker, and it's an entity. And it's a similar thing to this. It's in the nursing home. But for some reason, Mulder, of all people, they do a twist where he's actually the one, even though he's the believer in all this stuff, he's the one who actually questions her. And that's just a bit weird, especially since Mulder is usually the believer in the supernatural as well.
Mm-hmm.
Especially that point in the show, because it's still quite early on. So, yeah, similar sort of thing with that, where I was a little bit queasy rewatching that one about it's Mulder that doesn't believe her.
Mm-hmm.
So it's that kind of, but I mean, that's just a small thing. I think once you get into the relationship stuff, I think it's very well done. I quite like that Lumen tries to take an interest in Dexter's family.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's this season, isn't it? You have that whole story where Cody's friend is being abused.
Astrid's friend, yeah.
Oh, Aster. Oh, sorry. I always thought it was the other way around for some reason. Oh, it's Aster. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Aster's friend, the one where she's been abused. And that's around about the time when Lumen's staying in the house and she takes an interest in that. And yeah, takes an interest in Dex and the family. So she's sort of like the more sympathetic version of some of the other characters that we've had in that kind of role. Either someone, you know, again, a bit like Hannah, where it's a love interest and they've kind of got this mutual thing, but, you know, she's a little bit dicey, like, can he trust her, that kind of thing. Or just something like Miguel, that kind of character, you know, it's similar, but it's a little different this time because of her past and how sympathetic she is. Julia Stiles, really, really great actress. I think she's very good in it.
Yeah. I mean, first of all, I just love the idea of them going around hunting a group of predators. I think that's the storyline that, like, probably would have been better received today than it was then, just because of, you know, all of the stuff in the news and everything with Epstein and all that stuff. So I think that would have been very popular now. And also, I think it's the first time Dexter, I think, hunts like a group instead of just an individual person. Obviously, it's the second time he's teamed up with someone, but the first time he's teamed up with someone that's not crazy. And, like, you know, trying to take control of the situation, like a true partnership. And like you said, Lumen's very sympathetic. And the fact that she, like, actually cares about or grows to care about Dexter and his family and everything. That's why it sucks so much in the last episode when she leaves, but I also kind of love that too. There is a part of me that kind of wishes that Dexter had been the one to suggest that she leave, but I'm like, at the same time, I don't think Dexter was there. He gets there with Harrison in terms of wanting to, like, push people away to protect them, and I don't think he was there in season 5. So it kind of makes sense that she's the one that realizes it and leaves. But yeah, and then that last scene where he's with Harrison, they're celebrating Harrison's birthday, and he's, like, you know, pretending to be happy, but he's, like, dying inside. And in his monologue, he's talking about carrying the light or carrying the darkness for both of them. I just love everything about that. That's one of my favorite season finales too, even though I hate that she leaves. I understand it, and that whole episode is so great. That, and of course, again, another good Deb moment is whenever she lets them go, because you're just thinking, how the hell are they going to get out of this? And they did a really good job that season, I think, of building up to making it seem very plausible that Deb would have the gray morality, or I guess the passion for justice, even if it's outside of the justice system. They set it up really well that she would have enough compassion to let them go, and that she really is touched by the fact that whoever is helping the victim get revenge, like, you know, how much they must love each other and everything. Like, I really bought into her feeling all of that. So I liked that she let them go. It felt like they foreshadowed that really well. So it doesn't feel like a cop-out when it happens. And yeah, I love everything. I love almost everything about season 5. Like, I just think it works really well. I do think that Johnny Lee Miller, even though he's a really great actor, I don't think they give him quite as much as I would have liked.
Okay.
I think that's the only really big problem I have with 5 is that Trinity was such a good villain, and in a way it's a good that there was multiple people they had to hunt this season, and that the focus was more on Lumen and Dexter getting over Rita and kind of discovering his own feelings, and also his relationship with Rita's kids. And it wasn't really on developing a new villain, because I think that would have been really hard to follow up if they had decided to let's make this another, villain-centered season. I think that was a smart idea, to make it less about the villain and more about, Dexter and his evolution. But yeah, I do wish there'd been just a little bit more with Johnny Lee Miller's character. There was enough that it was interesting to me. I still think he's a pretty decent villain, but I do wish he'd gotten just a little bit more screen time.
Yeah, I can see what you mean. Yeah, no, because obviously I was going to bring. Yeah, he's very good. He's very well cast in that role. Very believable. The mystery around that whole thing and the group and how it goes back to like their school days and some of the stuff. And I thought that was quite a good little. But yeah, you're right. Maybe they just wanted to shift the focus a bit. Obviously, they have to sell some of the fallout from Rita passing and some of the drama around that. And then obviously Lumen and Dexter take up their relationship takes up a lot. So yeah, I think it's always good sometimes for a show, especially when you're 5 seasons into sort of jumble things up a bit format-wise, change it up a little bit, and you don't always necessarily have to have an outright big bad throughout. But I think you're probably right thinking about it. Maybe they could have given Johnny Lee Miller a little bit more stuff with the nanny. I wasn't so that was a bit tedious, her trying to force like religion onto Dexter, and I don't know. I mean, that might have been partly setting up because of the religious stuff in season 6. That might have been. And again, I like that actress as well, but just that stuff was a little bit grating. It didn't really go anywhere.
It took me a minute to even remember who you were talking about. Yeah,
it's like the Irish nanny.
That's right. I understand they needed to introduce someone taking care of the baby, but I agree that storyline's just I could have done without it.
Nothing. Yeah, because they do that whole montage, don't they? That they do in a lot of shows. When they're interviewing the different nannies and they're all like disasters, and then they do that in a lot of shows. Like she's like the perfect one.
Yeah.
Oh brother, yeah, the sog that is season 6.
And one last thing I want to say on 5 before we move on to 6 is that I like how Lumen is a parallel to Rita in a lot of ways, because they're both blonde, they both care about Dexter, they're both very maternal and sweet and like not crazy. And I think Lumen is the first person who ever knows who Dexter really is and accepts him and loves him for who he is. And I think that's part of what makes it so tragic when she leaves, and what makes that finale feel so devastating. So I really like her character for that too. She's a kind of a foil for Rita, because they both love Dexter, but Lumen actually knew who he really was and still loved him. And I like Lumen more than Hannah too. So.
Well, I mean, certainly as a person, but
well, even as a character, I just liked her more because.
Well, obviously, like they give her a bit more to do, and
I think she's just developed more, and she's more consistent too. I think, like you said, Hannah, they just didn't quite know what to do with her. They were kind of building her up to be a femme fatale, and then like morally gray, and then the last season they're just like, oh, she just wants to be Dexter's wife and settle down and be normal. And it's like, that feels like we got all this character development came out of nowhere for Hannah. But yeah, I do like how they made Lumen a foil to Rita, a foil and a parallel, because she's very similar, but with that very important distinction that she sees the real Dexter. So I like that about season 5 too.
And obviously they had to come up with a reason for her to leave, because they're not not paying Julia Stiles for another season.
Well, I was gonna say I also felt like it
worked.
Been,
like, it's not
yeah.
a complaint, but that's part of it, isn't it? You know.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm very sure. But I also think she would have probably felt a little tedious if she'd stuck around.
Mm-hmm.
You know, part of what made some of the later seasons more interesting was seeing Dexter balance parenthood on his own, and I don't know. It would have been weird for Lumen to stick around, even though I liked the character quite a bit. And when it happened, I was like, no. my mom and I, every time they announced New Blood and when they announced Resurrection, I was like, they need to bring Lumen back.
Oh yeah, because in recent years she's made a bit of a comeback, Julia Stiles, to acting. Because so for a while she did go out of the limelight for a while, but she was in. What's that one with Jennifer Lopez? The one where she's like a stripper, like it's at like a strip club, and I can't remember. It sort of got some awards buzz a few years, and it's quite good. I can't remember what it's called now, but she was in that, and she was in like the sequel to Orphan, wasn't she? She played like basically like the villain.
Yeah.
Well,
one of the villains, most of the villains in that movie.
True. Yeah. So she has made a little bit of a comeback in recent years, which is good. And
she was also in a movie called The God Committee that was pretty good, where they have to decide who to give the organs to, the organ transplant, out of like 3 different patients. So that was pretty cool.
Okay, that's intriguing. Yeah, and I do like also how understanding Dexter is when it's like, because I expected some sort of reaction and maybe him to be okay, really upset. And like you said, he is cut up inside, like in that final scene, you can tell. But it's actually quite a nice moment for him, how understanding he is, and that he just gets it from her point of view.
Yeah.
Why she can't stay. Madison's least favourite season is of course season 6, and the religious plot is whatever. It's really lame. Just drags on. The twist with that character Travis it's okay, but it's very cliched. You've seen it all before. It's quite predictable. Again, Colin Hanks, I think, is a good actor. He plays him quite well, but they don't really give him anything to do. Like he never really feels like a threat to Dexter, like someone like Trinity did, or some of the other villains. Once they reveal that twist, it kind of just like spins its wheels for a while afterwards. It's a little bit of. I quite enjoyed seeing Molly Parker. Is it Molly Parker? Molly something. The one who plays his sister. Yeah, because she's been in Deadwood and a bunch of other things. She pops up in shit. But it's always nice seeing her. That's something I got something out of, at least. Checked out of the main plot. Like it's very forgettable.
Yeah, I think there was one episode I really liked. I do like Brother Sam. I like that friendship, and whenever he died, I also felt very sad. So I like that, and I kind of like Dexter learning about forgiveness through that character. And I like the Nebraska episode, like from beginning to end, where he kind of has like the nervous breakdown and like drives off, and he goes to the gas station, and I don't remember, his brother shows up and starts messing with his head. And then by the end of it, he's driving home and Harry's back. So like basically the whole episode is he's starting to lose it and go off the rails, but then Harry and his own morality kind of brings him back. So I thought that was cool. It's kind of like the Fly episode of Breaking Bad, where it's like if you missed it, you wouldn't miss anything in the main plot. So did it really need to happen? No, but it's a character exploration episode, so I like it for that reason. And considering I don't like the main plot of season 6, I think that's also the one that's a follow-up with Trinity, which is why I thought it was interesting where he that's why he's going to Nebraska, is to find Trinity's son, because he thinks that he's killed his mother and sister, and then it turns out it was an accident, but he still blamed himself, which is why he attacked Dexter. And I liked that twist, that he actually wasn't a bad kid, you know, and he got dealt this really shitty hand, but he was going to try to, you know, get through it. And Dexter kind of, in a weird way, you know, is supportive of him. So I liked that too. So that was a really good episode in an otherwise not so great season. And then of course the finale's great, where Dexter gets caught by Deb. It's awesome cliffhanger.
Eventually they had to do something like that. So yeah, I agree. That's a good cliffhanger. I don't know. I'm trying. There's not a lot of memorable stuff. A lot of people like that Nebraska episode. It's all right. I don't love it, but it's okay. But I know what you mean. If you checked out of the main plot, it's quite a nice little detour.
Yeah.
So
and
just some of it.
So,
well,
which
true,
helps because it's a slow season.
Well, yeah, okay, so it's a nice deal. Some of it I find a little bit over the top, and like them playing loud rock music and screaming in the car, I find a little bit annoying. But I was going to say, when you were talking about the son, Trinity's son, I think they would have lost me a bit if they actually made it like he killed his family outright, and because it's like, well, no, that's not really his character, is it? Like, he was never really gonna do that. Like, his beef was always with his father more. So
yeah, but you know, considering how pulpy the show gets sometimes, I kind of thought, well, maybe they're just gonna make it where he's genetically bad. Maybe they've kind of played with Dexter is fighting against his genetics, so maybe that's, you know, I don't know. I just didn't think about it that deeply. And of course they introduce it, and Dexter's already confronting him in the same episode. So there's not a whole lot of time to be thinking about, well, maybe Dexter's wrong and all this other stuff. So it was a nice surprise to me when I was doing the rewatch, because I didn't even remember them coming back. I was like, where was I? Did I miss it? I might have missed that episode. I don't know, because my mom kept watching without me and I kept trying to catch up. So maybe I missed it the first time. It is one of those episodes you could theoretically miss, and like nothing else in the main plot would clue you in that you missed an episode.
Yeah, no, right. That's a good point you made, the comparison with the Breaking Bad episode. I can see what you mean. Yeah.
But I am glad that they brought back Trinity's family and all that. And it's sad, because you kind of want to just imagine they all lived happily ever after getting away from him. But I did think it was interesting. And like I said, it was a nice breath of fresh air after episode after episode of this killer that, in my opinion, was not that interesting.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. Yeah, because that's the last time we see Trinity's son, isn't it?
I believe so.
Yeah, because I was trying to think when it was that Quinn approaches him and starts questioning him, but I think that must be the start of season 5. You know, because obviously he's getting suspicious about Dexter and thinks his reactions are a bit unnatural, and he talks to the neighbor. I think that must be season 5.
I think so too, because they moved to another state. And that's why Dexter had to take the road trip. So I don't think Quinn would have driven that far. Quinn's a really shitty cop, so I don't think he would have went to another state to follow up. It was probably season 5.
Yeah, I think so, because it's when he's a little bit more. Because I think it's by the end of that season. Oh yeah, because he doesn't rat on Quinn, because originally they think Quinn's killed Peter Wells' character, don't they? Or something like that. Because it's when Dexter kills him in the van, and Quinn's right there outside, and I think
that's
blood
right.
ends
He gets
up
the blood drop on him.
Yeah. And they originally arrest him thinking it's him, and obviously it's a little shady, even though he didn't actually do it. But yeah, but Dexter covers for him, so that's kind of he's in Dexter's good books. Then Quinn, Deb stuff, I don't want to talk about it really because I couldn't really give a shit. But like it just reaches the most obnoxious state. As I said, I think that's the whole thing where she's captain and he cheats with. They've broken up, so they're not. He's not cheating, but you know, he has the thing with the professor, the academic, which is really unprofessional considering she's a person of interest, and they're questioning her and the whole thing. Like, I think she breaks off the engagement. Now they found a way to make those characters more annoying than they had been before. I don't know how they did it.
I agree. I think from season 6 on, Deb is pretty awful. And has moments where I like her and feel sorry for her, but mostly just terrible from about season 6 on. And yeah, whenever she breaks up with Quinn, I think it's the way she does it. She's so cruel to him for no reason. And she's like, why would you think I would ever want to marry you and all this stuff? It's like, geez, I don't know. Maybe because y'all were dating for years and I don't know. And he just, I felt really bad for him because he seemed really, you know, sweet and in that moment anyways. And then she treats him like crap and it's not a good Deb moment at all.
No, well, definitely, in that scenario, she is more the villain of the two, but that's the thing. It's a bit, okay.
But then, he acts unprofessional, and then
there's moments, and there's that random scene where he gets high with Batista for some reason in the car. That's okay.
That's how men comfort other men after serious breakups, right? In TV land, they don't just like talk about it. You know, that's a girl thing. No, they got to go, you know, drink beer or smoke pot or
really professional, when they're on the job, and they play the Stoneham song that they always play when dudes are getting high. Okay, you know, it was only 2 minutes. I can roll with it. Again, it's a bit random, but little bit of male bond in there.
Yeah, it's also a bit random because I don't think they've had any bonding scenes before that. But they were like, they're both 2 single dudes now, so they're gonna bond.
Yeah. By the way, like when there was that stuff, like the whole drama, I think it's season 4, like the stuff with the Greta and Batista getting married, and it's that whole thing. First of all, I like Matthew's line when he suspects them. And they're kind of like, okay, we're getting married, so you can't touch us. And he has that line, something like, if I find out there's something shady going on, there will be consequences, severe career-ending consequences. What a great line. He delivers it so well. And then there's, some of the stuff with the money. Like when the teacher's like, she's got these savings. It's like, damn right, that's her fucking money. She's in touch. She made that money.
Yeah.
If she wants to give you a piece, that's up to her, Angel. But otherwise, no, bud out. You know,
I agree.
That's her money.
Yeah. Damn. Didn't they ask Dexter to be their witness or something? And I think his reaction was so hilarious. He was just like, wait, what? When they were eloping, basically. That was hilarious. It was another one of those moments where you think they're on to Dexter for some reason, or he thinks that they're on to him, and then they're like, can you be the witness at our wedding?
Yeah.
That's a great bait and switch.
No, that's true. Yeah, I know what you... Yeah. No, that's fun. That's the good stuff. Yeah. Yeah, I think because it's like you bringing up the baby stuff, and you could have seen him. I think that's just a TV thing where it slows down the drama, but you're right. It could have led to an interesting scene. Like you could have had Dexter.
And I also think since they already had the storyline where Rita needed him and he couldn't get there because he had to find the body. So we had to come up with excuses, and then he ends up in the car accident and all that. Like, I think they could have done the same thing, but had her be in labor instead of have the baby need medicine or whatever it was he was getting. And it would have been the same. Like, they could have just, you know, made everything the same, and then just had the scene at the end be him holding Harrison and being like looking at his newborn son and being like, oh my god, how am I gonna juggle baby stuff and this, I mean, and my other life. I don't know, I just think that would have been a nice moment. But
no, it's a good point. Like it's something I hadn't really thought about. You know, I think they just wanted to start the next season and kind of have you picking up with their lives like a year on or whatever, a few whatever it's meant to be. One episode I did quite like, well, at least one plot in it was the first one in season 6. I quite like Dexter at the reunion. You know, like, because that's like the first episode.
Oh
like,
yeah, that was
him
a good
doing
episode.
the whole dance and trying to fit in. That's that stuff was enjoyable. That was
good. Yeah.
Is that the season they introduced Jamie, or is that next? I think it's probably that season, isn't it?
Probably.
Yeah. Jamie, yeah, I feel bad for Jamie. She's not, you know, I'm not saying she's an amazing character, but she's very likable. She's very loyal. And the little crush she has on Dexter is quite sweet. But,
yeah.
I think that is that season.
I think part of it is that she's so much younger than everyone else, but she always seems to handle things more maturely than Quinn and Deb. So not only is she sweet, but she's also very mature. And like whenever Quinn embarrasses her and stuff at the party and everything by like still being hung up on Deb, like she handles it very maturely. And yeah, I definitely like her. And I agree. Quinn was dating above his level, both like looks and maturity. I just like, how could you be hung up on Deb when you have someone who's so great like her? But
and dependable, and they sort of make her well, not exactly the villain, but like her being jealous and that they play it a little bit. But to be fair, it does take a while. Like she's not straight away like jumping, oh my god, what are you doing? And like it's pretty within reason, like the way she reacts. And then gradually as like he's kind of passing her over more and getting his head turned a bit, where she can see there is something going on. Out of Breaking Bad is in an episode.
Who?
Mike, well, the one who plays Mike in Breaking Bad.
He was in an episode of, that's right. I do remember. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I think it's the end of season 2, because I think it's when the whole Bay Harbor Butchers, like Doke stuff is ramping up.
Yeah.
And he's a little bit of a sexist, you know, guy who comes in, head authority guy. I think it's it, but I think it's literally only one episode. The thing I was going to say about season 2 is I do actually also quite like, then they changed the focus so that the one they're looking for is essentially Dexter. So they find the bodies, and it's kind of a cool, like, sort of sequel thing to do.
Yeah,
you know,
I agree.
It's not quite as compelling as the previous mystery, but it's a good one nonetheless. And to see how Dexter's going to get out of it, and the net slowly closing in. And we've covered pretty much season 7. It's there's good things in it, but it's a frustrating season overall. Like I said, I quite like the start of it. I quite like the end of it, but there's a lot of slop in the middle, really.
Yeah. And I do like the moment where Deb tries to recruit Dexter to kill certain people. Because I think she wanted him to kill a guy, and then she wants him to kill Hannah, and it's like, oh. Like, they could have, who knows how long they could have worked together if Hannah hadn't showed up. Or if Dexter hadn't, randomly gotten these feelings for her. But that was a cool moment whenever Deb basically is like, okay, she kind of turns into Harry a little bit, like, all right, if you're going to be bad, we're going to use this. I actually wouldn't have minded that being the focus of 7. If they'd gotten Deb to a state of acceptance a little quicker, that could have been interesting.
Which storyline are you talking about?
I'm trying to remember. I know Hannah was one of them, but I think there was somebody else that because he walked and then she was upset, so they were in the car whenever she asked Dexter to kill this person.
Because there is it's quite a funny, like almost comedy beat. Because when all this stuff is out, like every time there's a reveal, and some of it's like, oh my god, you feel bad for her. But like when he's got like Lewis in the boot of his car, and Deborah walks up, and she's like, "Oh really? Again? You're doing this again?" And I have to turn a blind eye.
Another fun conspiracy theory that just popped up on Reddit. I swear the Reddit Dexter forum is full of interesting stuff. Somebody theorized that Deb poisoned herself to turn Dexter against Hannah because Hannah told Dexter about her poisoning. I've never failed. And I think Dexter knows it too. Looking back, I think Deb poisoned herself. That would have been pretty interesting.
If you look hard enough in anything, there's a bit risky, obviously, if she would have done that. But
okay. Hold on. Oh, wait, no. Again, it's talking about Deborah witnessed him kill Travis Marshall. That's not who I'm talking about. That's really bothering me.
Yeah, it must be. Obviously, it must be in one of the early episodes.
Yeah, it's early on, I think, in season 7. Not early enough, in my opinion, but because there is quite a few episodes where she's like, "I'm just gonna watch you day and night, Dexter," and I guess that's a plausible.
It's plausible, reaction. But it's just a bit tedious to watch, and her like, "Oh, we've got to sleep at the same place," like the therapy. Because also that's a little bit of like, well, who's watching Harrison? Surely Jamie can't be there all the time.
Yeah.
I guess he must just call her and like, sorry, another late night. You've got to watch the kid again. After they've arrested Hannah, Harrison's like whinging to Dexter, Daddy, where's Hannah? And I'm like, you've only seen her once. How have you got this attached to this woman after meeting her a grand total of one time?
Yeah, that's interesting.
That's weird. And then, and I mean, to be fair, when she's in the last one, and like, yeah, you can see she's bonding with the family and stuff, but it just doesn't feel very convincing because of who we saw in season 7.
Yeah, I agree. I think for quite a while I kept thinking Hannah was going to end up being bad. And it's, I mean, I don't hate the character and where they went with it. I just felt like it felt
could have been better if it was better written.
Yeah. So
yeah, it's a bit of a missed opportunity because again, I love that actress. She's really good. The final season, which we've talked a little bit about earlier, which again, bit of a slog for me, really. I can't really. But I wanted to bring up because you said you quite liked the stuff with the therapist. I mean, not necessarily the execution, but you like the idea of it.
Yeah, I love the idea because, like, earlier in the show, there's so many people that said basically what Harry did was child abuse and how he made Dexter that way, and then also I don't know if you've seen Original Sin, the prequel, but they definitely do a good job of
one episode.
Okay,
I'll have to watch a few more before we do our thing.
It was okay. Like it was it very much feels like it's for the hardcore fans.
Yeah, that's
because I feel like the main mystery isn't that great. It's definitely more about like looking for Easter eggs and like them foreshadowing the type of people they're going to grow up to be. I love the casting. I think the guy that plays Batista really looks like younger Batista. And there's another character too that they cast really well. But I think that it's it's okay. It's
Okay.
still better than season 6, and I did find myself wanting at least one more season. It does go a little bit long with the flashbacks to Dexter's mom, especially because we know how that storyline ends. I felt like there was a little too much of that. Sorry, I know what we're supposed to do.
Yeah, we went. Again, I've only seen one episode, so I will watch a bit more before we do our. Or at least watch enough so that we can have a chat about it as part of the thing. But
it is good though. It's just the main mystery part wasn't that great, but I definitely found myself wanting more.
I think you're right. I think it is maybe something that's playing more to the hardcore fans. And believe me, I know Madison, because some of the grumpy comments I had on when I did the review of it, like they were pretty much they're not like you. I'll say that you're one of the nicer ones, but they were really like, just this passive aggressive stuff you get when someone does a negative review of something that other people like. And I mean, I can't remember, like, as I was saying to you off there another time, I basically all the comments on my Star Trek Academy reviews recently I've had to delete because they're all that kind of toxic trolling type. Oh, how dare you say something positive about this show we all hate. It's the usual, it's too woke and all the rest of it. I mean, with Star Trek, it's even more baffling. Like, did they not watch the 60s show? It's always...
Star Trek was always very woke. That's so hilarious.
Yeah. But that's a sidebar anyway. Like I said, I will catch up on some more episodes before we do our thing.
Terrible. It does feel like she just kind of comes out of nowhere, though. And I wish that there had been a more organic way to introduce her into Dexter's world. And I also
check out this picture you did as a kid, Dexter. That's basically it, really.
And then like the whole thing with her son being crazy and being jealous of Dexter, like it's this show's always been a little pulpy, so it's okay. I do think that for a last season it's pretty weak because it doesn't have that sense of like, that's why I think Hannah would have been a great villain, because at least they'd been building that up for a season, it never, and Dexter's also a show where it feels like most of the time the show restarts a little bit every season.
Sure.
Up until 5, whenever they killed Rita off, so now there's a new normal. And so, but even then it still just kind of feels like often it just sort of restarts. So there never really was a building up to a big bad. Like there was never, again, to go back to Breaking Bad, there was never a Gus. There was never like a character that, was built up for multiple seasons. And it would have been nice to have had that, or at least to have created that feeling, like Stranger Things did. That Vecna's been here this whole time, or something. Maybe that's kind of what the therapist was supposed to be, because she was technically a part of Dexter's past. She ended up being a presence that was
certainly murky, certainly, but not outright bad.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, I do like the idea of it though, because again, it makes Harry seem like he truly tried to help Dexter. He explored other avenues, so it doesn't feel like, Dexter was being controlled. And, Dexter spends a lot of time being angry at Harry sometimes, thinking maybe I could have been normal. Maybe you gave up too soon. And I think, again, Original Sin and the introduction of this character shows Harry really did try. And I think that makes the situation more interesting, because it's not just this case of, hey, I saw some bad signs in this kid, so I figured I'm just going to make him a killer. Like, it seems like he was truly at his wit's end. So I think that's a little more interesting. And I just think the idea of like, what is this therapist and Harry, what are they supposed to do with this kid that's showing all of these signs? So I guess it's interesting that the therapist also, that the reason she was motivated is because her own son was crazy. But I don't know. I just didn't ever get the sense that he was the big bad they were trying to build him up to be, for whatever reason.
Once you get past the initial, like, okay, this is the twist, and I think in a way, it just becomes again another version of something they've done in previous seasons, and you know, sometimes they've done it better, sometimes they've done it worse. But I mean, some of the best examples I think are definitely much better than this stuff. Because I mean, something you mentioned there, I was going to bring up, which I don't know. I think part of my problem with it is it does feel like a bit of a retcon. Because, like, it feels like once again they're going back into the past and adding some stuff which hasn't really been set up. Like, and there's never really been a hint of this woman before. And you would have thought at some point, you know, they would have heard about her one way or the other, or they would. It just feels like a little bit of a retcon to me, because they maybe want to add a bit more onto that, because it reminds me a bit of like sometimes what modern horror movies will do, like and like the Halloween movies, for example, recently is where I think they keep going back to the original movie and to like that night 78, that movie, and kind of adding in scenes that weren't originally there, or adding on little bits where it's kind of like, my thing with that is, yeah, it was fine. We don't need any more added. Just do your modern take on a Halloween movie and get on with it. It feels a little bit similar to this, where
I don't mind retcons if it adds something, but you're right, it doesn't add that much. So that's a shame. I think but I will say I do like whenever a show, especially one that goes on for quite a long time and is more character driven and plot driven, whenever they go back to the beginning, and if they're going to reveal something that impacts the character in the present. So one thing I would have liked explored is Harry's suicide, because Dexter always assumes that it's because of him. And I think that it would have been interesting if we either A, found out it wasn't a suicide and it was more complicated than that, or B, if it was suicide but for something totally different. Because I think that would have helped Dexter like accept himself and feel, I guess, less like a monster, because it's kind of the theme of the show, as he calls himself a monster and all this stuff. So for it to end with him feeling like he's less of a monster because, you know, Harry didn't kill himself over, that would have been like a retcon that was interesting, that did something in the present. And I don't necessarily know if the therapist, because he does kind of bond with her a little bit, and like she becomes almost like extended family, which is interesting. But then she gets killed, so it's again, it's like, okay, well, we're back to point zero again. Like nothing's really changed for Dexter now.
Yeah.
So it does end up feeling a bit pointless. So yeah, I think if they were going to bring back the past, they probably should have retconned it in a way that created character development instead of kind of being in the same place. I do kind of like the characters, the idea of it still, but again, it's not terrible to retcon and do all of this, but like for a final season, it just feels a bit weak. So
yeah,
like, no, you could have done something better. Yeah. They could have had Dexter on the run, or Resurrection, which they could have done something like that, where he changes locations and they go after him. Which I think Resurrection was great, because that was it's kind of what a lot of people expected to see in a final season, even though it's not a final season, because they're doing another season after that.
Because so many seasons in Miami, and it's good to switch it up a little bit, because even obviously in New Blood, he's in a different kind of setting, and then the big city obviously in Resurrection. So yeah, it's good to have that contrast. Did you see they've just cast Brian Cox for the next season?
That name is familiar, but I'm not.
Well, he's in Succession, the main guy in Succession, and he's the one I told. He played the original Hannibal Lecter in Manhunter.
Okay, yeah, I just looked him up. Yes,
he's
I've seen him before.
New York Ripper. Yeah.
He
spoilers, everyone.
He is going to be great. They're actually bringing the New York Ripper into the. I didn't know any of this. This is cool.
Apparently, yeah.
That makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
They set that up pretty nice in Resurrection. So, yeah, that's exciting.
Yeah, interesting. But yeah, no, I'm always down to see him in things. He's a good actor. But yeah, no, I agree with you. Like not all retcons are bad. Like they can work, and yeah, I can see what you're saying. I can see where there's potential in this. It's just more the execution, and I can also see what you're saying about sometimes bringing stuff back in later seasons from the past, because it's a bit like the stuff with the Greta at the end of season 7 and returning to the, I quite like that. Like it has a little bit more of an impact if you wait further down the line and bring up and something twigs. It's like, okay, yeah, I always believed in Dokes, and she starts having, because as things goes, she's resigned to maybe the fact that okay, no, he was the killer, and I just didn't want to see that. But then something springs up much later, so yeah, that's a good example of it working quite well.
Yeah,
where you have to wait a little bit down the line to do something like that.
With the last episode, I don't technically think him driving off into the storm is a terrible ending, but it's the lumberjack part, and I think a lot of people were mad that Deb. They really did the heavy-handed foreshadowing. It's like everything's going really good for Deb, so something bad's got to happen. Yeah. That's what I was thinking. But she gets engaged and all this other stuff. Like, they're not just gonna let Deb be happy. No,
it's a bit. Yeah, they wanted.
But Dexter dropping her off into the sea is actually like really beautiful and sad, and I think that that's a finale worthy moment in an otherwise very lackluster finale. But I am glad that wasn't the end of the show, because I just think that that's not a great.
Why does he do it? Does he do it because he thinks she's gonna die anyway? Probably. So it's like just going out with a bit more dignity.
Yeah, I think she is brain dead.
Yeah,
Yeah, so taking her off the machines. By the time he puts her in the water, I am assuming she's dead.
I don't know how the fuck he got out of the hospital, though. That's a bit of a question. Because isn't the alarm?
There's a hurricane. No one's paying attention. Yeah. They're trying to save the patients that can be saved. And he's family, so who's going to question it, right? I don't know. And
like we said, they could have left it ambiguous, like whether Dexter was alive or not, because it's easy, if you return years later, as they have done, it's easy enough to just write it in that, okay, he survived after all, he's in this new location. I just think sometimes it's nice to have that element of doubt. Like, you don't have to, give a clear answer.
Yeah, I think at the time Michael C. Hall really didn't want to come back, or thought he didn't want to come back. But I'm like, then again, why would you write it so that the character's alive at the end? So
yeah, because it's this weird thing, isn't it? Well, like when you see him alive and he's in a different location, like in a way that could be like the end of that season, and it's setting up another season, or it's kind of setting up a new show anyway. So that's just why I think it would have been a bit better if they just left it up in the air and you weren't quite sure. It's that thing of, if the show never returned, you could just assume that maybe he did die.
Yeah.
And there's something symbolic, kind of him and Deb going together. But obviously, if the show does return, it's easy enough to write it as, okay, he did survive and he's been living out in this other location all these years. And that's pretty much the whole of the original show. We've gone through it in quite a lot of detail tonight. I hope you guys enjoyed that chat. It was a fun chat, and we will return at some point with the revival season, so I better watch a little bit more of Original Sin, even though I really couldn't stand the one episode I did see.
Put it on in the background and do something else while you're cleaning or something, and you'll probably get interested in something.
Okay.
But yeah, there is some fluff. It's one of the weaker seasons for sure, but it has its moments. So there's a lot of good humor moments because Dexter's, I mean, he's always kind of odd and doesn't get jokes and stuff, but he's really bad in Original Sin because he hasn't been socialized as much and he hasn't figured out how to get that mask. So that's the most interesting part to me. So I hope it's not.
I don't want to.
I hope it grows on you.
Yeah. Fingers crossed. I won't say any more because I do have particular feelings on things. Do they bring Dokes into it, like a younger Dokes?
I don't remember. I don't think they did.
No, maybe they were planning on that if they got a season 2.
Cameoed him? I don't remember.
Yeah. Well, because they have everyone else from the original cast, or original characters.
Maybe they thought that it wouldn't make sense for Dokes to be in the show because he would have caught Dexter when Dexter was starting out, because he makes a lot of bad mistakes.
True.
So maybe that was it.
Is the Greta in it?
Yes.
She is, younger. Much, yeah.
Yeah. Because
she would be a little... Is she older than... Yeah, I think she's meant to be older, like people that, like... I don't know. It's hard to tell. She's probably about the same age as Dexter, isn't she? It's hard to tell.
I think everyone's older than Dexter. Well,
except obviously Deb, but
well, yeah.
Yeah, but I would think back then. Oh, I don't know. It doesn't matter. Like, I would have thought back then someone like Batista would be in a similar age group to Dexter, but maybe a little bit older. But
yeah, he's supposed to be older. It says Original Sin, LaGuardia is supposed to be 32, so I'm guessing Batista is supposed to be about that age. That sounds about right.
Yeah, I think it's because Batista's so gruff. You know, he's got a little bit of the beer belly, so it sort of makes him look maybe a bit older than he actually is. But, okay, well, that's fine. We can get to that stuff. But thank you, everyone. Like and subscribe this video as always. Let us know what you think of Dexter, the original show. What's your favourite season? What's your favourite storyline? What's your favourite character? What's your least favourite character? Let us know what you think on some of your stuff. And before we get off, I'll give Madison the chance to plug her channel.
Yeah, my channel is just my name, Madison Estes, and I review horror movies, horror books, thriller books, and have writing vlogs and a few horror gaming vlogs. So that's pretty much it. And I don't have anything planned anytime soon because I've been doing nothing but reading. But maybe I'll put some posts up and hopefully get a video up soon.
Yeah, well, there's already quite a bit of content up there if someone is new to the channel and hasn't checked out some of so they can be catching up with some of that stuff in the meantime. But thanks, everyone. Thanks for listening. Keep watching TV, and we'll see you again soon. Goodbye.
My dark passenger is like a trapped coal miner, always tapping, always letting me know it's still in there, still alive. Tonight's the night, and it's going to happen again and again. The night when a primal, sacred need calls to me. I've waited. It's time. Hello?
Dexter, I need you to go to an all-night pharmacy right away.
I'm kind of in the middle of something.
Whatever you're doing can wait.
Kids. Dexter Morgan, good suburban husband, happy father of 3. On paper, anyway.
You better be a cop.
No, forensics.
That was my favorite blood spatter analyst.
Who are you?
I'm the person who's going to keep you from killing any more women.
You give me the creeps. You know that, Dexter?
Yeah, I know. Sorry about that.
What happened changed something inside you. We can do something to channel it. There are people out there who do really bad things, and the police can't catch them all.
You're decent and good.
I'm not.
Want to know a secret? Daddy kills people.
Not really anybody else I can tell about that, you know?
Hello, Dexter Morgan.
Preparation is vital, and the ritual is intoxicating. Catching monsters is what I do best.
Don't forget, tell the universe what you need.
I really need to kill somebody.